We have earlier approved the agenda and go through to public participation. Do we have public participation?
Is anybody signed up?
There's, I think it's just over here. Councillor Bain, thank you. No, thank you very much. Welcome. Thank you very much, Mr. Abbott. And Councillor Bain is the timekeeper this evening.
I sent an email to the village yesterday, which you probably haven't seen, and there's a couple of photographs attached. I'm just going to quickly go read through the email. This is very well read, and I have a few questions for council, which should take less than 2 minutes. In April this year, the village works are to remove a large number of trees between our property, 125 Sunset Drive, and the street. At the time, we asked all the workshop managers to stop the work so we could come up with a more coordinated plan that would allow us to keep our privacy, maintain some view, and retain the slope between the driveway and the street. All told us the work was requested by a neighbour and nothing could be done to stop its completion. We wrote a letter to council, it was on May the 1st, I think, protesting this work, and we received no reply. At the time, we assumed, until this weekend, we assumed this work was done by one of the neighbours across the road from us. We now know that is not the case. They have told us that they are unhappy with the work, they think it's unsightly, and they had nothing to do with it happening. The trees removed by the workshoppers in previous years allowed us to trim some lighter, smaller trees closer to our house in an effort to gain some view while keeping the privacy from the street and creating the view of a wild forest from the street. Our neighbours have told us they know what they prefer. Last week we carried out this exercise, and now they are further upset because the skinny trees behind the trees that are now in view. I requested the workshop cease cutting trees adjacent to our property without consultation or attempting to understand our needs. I'd like to point out that many of those trees, there are about 20 of them, are over the size you need a tree permit to cut down. Now, a few questions are: why is someone able to simply request the removal of approximately 20 trees in front of our property, several of which would require a tree permit? This work is done without neighbourhood consultation. The second question I have is, who requested this work and who on council or village instructed its completion? My final question is, what is council going to do to right this wrong? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I could take answers now if you like.
Let me just consult with Mr. McGrath. This is the first I've heard of this, so I haven't had any knowledge or briefing prior.
To give you some background, the work was work being done on Mountain Drive at the same time. On Mountain Drive, we given notice. There was no notice of any work happening on Sunset Drive, and I believe on the day of the work, someone decided to go include Sunset Drive.
April. Okay. Perhaps I don't know whether Mr. McGrath will guide us to leave this with us and to staff, or if you wish to make any comment.
Madam Mayor, there was, and I'll go through the details later. The email that I understand Mr. Abbott is referring to went just to myself and Mandy. It didn't go to council, I understand. There was a notice of tree trimming on December 31st, 2013. It reads, notice of tree trimming. In an effort to increase safety and open up roadways for emergency and larger vehicles to pass, Village Alliance Bay Public Works will be using the bucket truck to trim overhanging branches in the next several weeks. This work will focus on trimming branches that encroach past the edge of blacktop and lower branches blocking sight lines and corners. This work will commence on January 6, 2014 and last through the spring. It is expected to last on and off for several weeks. We have identified several areas of concern, but work will start in Isledview Place, and then move on to Panorama Road and Panorama Place, and then to Stewart Road. Signs will be posted before the work starts, and temporary no parking signs will be put up in hazard areas. It is asked that every effort be made to move vehicles parked under overhanging branches so that work can continue unencumbered and safely. Please use caution when driving through the work zone and watch for direction from works crews. If you have any questions or concerns, please email publicworks@lionsbay.ca or call 604-921-9833 to leave a message. Thank you for your cooperation. Will Emo, Acting Manager, Public Works.
So just to clarify, Sunset Drive is not mentioned.
No. Could I make a recommendation at this point?
Just to
That,
clarify,
yeah, because we're all kind of,
And the only work done
if
is actually
everybody's,
runs in front of my house.
perhaps-
And the tree was touched.
okay, good. Thank you for coming before us.
I'll find out more.
Yeah,
about that.
if we could ask Mr. McGrath, interim CAO, to find out more and to get back to you, Mr. Abbott. But, yeah, thank you.
These are current pictures, Mr. Abbott?
Sorry?
These are current
Those
pictures?
are pictures that were taken 2 days after the work was done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. May I move us along then, Council, to the adoption of the, through delegations, I see none, to adoption of the minutes of June 17th special council meeting on page 3 of your package. Could I have somebody please move and second? Thank you, Councillor Ronsley, and a seconder, please. Councillor Bain. Any changes, additions, deletions? Yes, Councillor McLaughlin.
Mayor Broughton, page 8 of 246, action item, if it could be revised to read, Councillor McLaughlin to request Utah Phillips to begin compilation of scope, etc.
Okay, thank you. If I can, on that same page, while we're there, on page 8, item B, Mayor and Council, last line of the first paragraph, following $53,000, can we please insert the word annually? Thank you so much. Any other changes, deletions? There being none, call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can move along then to the special meeting of Council of June 26th, could I please ask Council to move and second? Thank you, Councillor McLaughlin, and second, Councillor Bain. Any additions, changes, deletions to those minutes? There being none, call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can move along to the July 3rd special meeting of Council, could I have somebody please move and second? Thank you, Councillor Ronsley, and a seconder, Councillor Bain. Any changes, additions, deletions to those minutes? Second. This is very minor, but on page 18, number 7A, line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just improvements to it, extremely minor. Thank you. There being none, call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can move along then to business arising from the minutes, amendment to minutes of May 6th, regular council meeting, page 21. Is this where I repeat? Yes. And so I'm going to pass the gavel along to Councillor Bain.
Is he the deputy mayor?
Yes, he's the deputy mayor. Councillor Bain?
Yes, he is.
Thank you. And I'm just going to recuse myself.
Right. Okay.
Yes, for reasons of being, Dr. Michael Broughton is my spouse. Thank you.
Yes. Any discussion? We want to move that we make a resolution that the Village of Lions Bay Council approves the modification of the minutes of the May 6, 2014 regular council meeting as noted by staff. Do anyone move that?
Comment. The flag has to be moved first.
Yes. Somebody wish to move?
Vote.
Second? Second, okay.
You can get
Sorry, let's retract here. I'm confused with what happened here.
There's,
You put the resolution forward.
yeah. Looking for some, or somebody move to move it forward.
Thank you.
And second, okay. Discussion? Councilor Rando?
So, I don't think that just flipping it kind of addresses what one of the concerns that I had with it was that the discussion that, or the speech or the comments that Dr. Broughton had made, I think were, he said more than what was written, and the things that he had said, I think were wrong, and I don't know whether it's on our place to fix it, but I believe that a public apology to both the public covers and to the Butterworths are kind of in order. He publicly identified that they were going to be away for 2 weeks on holiday, and if it was me, I would be very upset if another member of the community said that I was going to be away on vacation for a certain period of time in a public meeting. It's not recorded in the minutes, and that's why I so distinctly remembered, you know, why it stood out for me and why the minutes were incorrect. I don't think it should be recorded here because that further exacerbates what happened. But you know, I think council has a responsibility that this is something that's wrong and it shouldn't be condoned. I think by not addressing it is a problem. And I don't know if anybody else has a problem with that. I mean, I could probably play what he said on my iPhone for everybody to hear if you wanted to hear it again.
Through you, Mr. Mayor,
yeah.
I understand what is attempting to be said. We do not, council does not, at least in the time that I've been here, review presentations before they're sent to council, or before they're made to council.
Absolutely.
We do not in any way, not essentially is not the right word, but censor anything that is said to council, at least since I've been here. If a person wishes to make a statement, then that person has to stand on their own, whether that's a true statement or not. If it's flagrantly wrong, and we know that that's wrong, then I think we should, you know, try to address it.
That would be my example.
Right.
So if you don't believe that it's wrong, then
But the point is that the statement was made. I think what we should do at this point in time is what's in here in the minutes, is that the minutes have been, I guess, amended, I guess, in such a way. The challenge of trying to record any minutes is that it's almost impossible unless we're going to put verbatim minutes in, and very few organizations, if any, that I'm aware of, use verbatim minutes. So one has to take, use experience on what should be recorded. And I think a comment that was made is not recorded in here. And I think, you know, quite rightly, as we review the minutes, each council member makes the statements that, you know, how they should be corrected. You've made the statement on how it should be corrected, and I think that's what's put in here. The challenge that we're going to have, and as we talk about the procedure bylaw later on, is that I think even the comments should be even less than they're in here, because it's very difficult to capture everybody's comments. That's why it's recorded, but not in the written minutes. So I think if anything, I'm not quite sure if you're asking the council apologize on behalf of Dr. Broughton. I don't think that's our role.
No, I don't believe that we should apologize on behalf of Dr. Brown, but I believe that council should have a policy, or not a policy, but should recognize that we don't condone those kinds of statements that I don't think any of us would like to know, like the rest or the public to know when we're on vacation. You know, I don't think that you should be happy if I said you're going away for 2 weeks. You know, I wouldn't be comfortable with you saying that I'm going to be away for 2 weeks. If I say it that I'm going to be away, then that's fine. I have no problem saying it for myself. But if I'm saying it of somebody else, then I think that becomes a problem.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the comment was made, it was recorded. It should either have been, and you can't withdraw a comment once it's been recorded. So the statement has been made. I think we all agree that it perhaps that it should not have been said, but it was said. I think if anything else, people who present to council should not be saying those types of things. But to have a policy or not knowing that the person's going to say it is going to be extremely difficult for us to monitor. So I think, the comment has been made, and I think, we all have learned from that. And hopefully the public has.
Well then, I would ask the question then, is it our responsibility to govern the comments of the public participation, or is it people involved would dispute something that had been said? Who should be doing the correcting on this one? Is the issue?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I understand that the minutes now have been corrected. I think or not corrected, but have been amended. Not corrected, I think have been amended. I think at this point in time, council just needs to approve them. The comment, I think the statements have been made, and I think we've all learned from it. And hopefully the community has too.
Okay. Any further questions on it or comments? So, should we vote on this then? All those in favor of accepting the resolution? It's unanimous. Carried. And we shall bring Madam Mayor back in.
Okay, if we can move along then to the Climate Action Waste Management Task Force. And as Council knows, Ruth Simons has agreed to chair that task force, that has asked us to reaffirm and the task force terms of reference, and along with Grant's input, we have it on table.
Madam Mayor, yes. We sent this earlier today to council members. This is rather than going through, which I found a little challenging, the tracked document. And so the mayor and I went over this yesterday and cleaned it up.
This is the cleaned one?
Yes, that's the cleaned one. And I can walk you through the actual changes if you wish. What essentially it comes down to, I think the big changes is one is that it talks about the objectives of the Climate Action Waste Management Task Force, and so that's I'm speaking to the on-table document, and so we've cleaned that up to make it a little more specific. The other changes, big changes, is that village staff are not on the committee, though we'll be working with the committee. The members of the committee, or at least one council member, 5 to 9 citizens representing a range of interests, and the mayor is an ex officio member. The term of office we cleaned up. Appointment to the task force shall be for 2 years until the task force completes its work. The individual may continue to serve for subsequent terms, but must be appointed by council. There is no limit to the term of office for each member. Other than that, the meetings of the Climate Task Force is that it'll be at the discretion of the chair and the subcommittee chairs, but it is a public meeting, and the actual task force meeting shall be advertised and posted as per council procedure bylaw. Other than that, I think those are just the big changes. And I know in speaking with Simons, they're anxious to get going, and a lot of this is really to be under the objectives is to identify policy changes, implement best practices, and educate the citizens, the residents of Lions Bay, in all aspects of climate change.
If I can just pick up on the education portion, is that the Metro's moving ahead with the organics by January 2015, which is our responsibility, and I want to thank Ms. Hoagland for so quickly being on top of that, in terms of some review that you've already done, and in meeting with Mr. McGrady and myself, so thank you, and to Mr. McGrady. This Climate Action Task Force, among other things, will work on educating the public. Now, what makes this central and important is just us knowing how to do what we want to do, and how to do it correctly in terms of separation. More than that, the first 6 months, January 1st to June 30th, I guess the first 6 months would be, 2015, there's kind of a forgiveness period, after which there is a fine period. So we really want to ensure that we have the public education through reading format, probably workshops, just to show and tell how to do that, and what's in, what's out, how to source it, etc., and to really facilitate that for us so that we can be a community that helps to reduce any fines that communities will be incurring subsequent to that June 30th. If I have the right, it might be June 1st, but let's call it June 30th, 2015 at this point. So thank you very much, and thank you to staff for its consideration as well, and also for working with, but certainly you can attend any and all meetings. But thank you to Mr. McGrady for just suggesting that that not be an additional responsibility when it can be communicated through other means. So thank you so much.
Madam Mayor, if council is supportive, then I guess the task force terms of reference should be approved.
Yep.
And then I understand that Ruth Simons has agreed to be the chair, so I don't know if you wish to make that appointment tonight.
Yes, I think that we should go ahead with that too. And I know that, and I don't want to put you on the spot because we haven't discussed this, but I know that Councillor Ronsley has also expressed a real interest in this area. I don't want to put you on the spot, but that's what my thinking is, and certainly I would
yes,
say as well.
I'm not only interested, I'm very
Committed.
committed. Okay, so I would thank you very much.
And I know there's community members that are just, you know, interested as well. But if I can turn my attention to the terms of reference before you and ask that Village of Lions Bay Council move to approve the Climate Action Waste Management Task Force terms of reference. Thank you, Councillor McLaughlin.
Questions?
Oh yeah, just can
Okay.
you move first? Is that okay? And then
That's fine.
question?
Thank you.
And a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Bain. And questions, Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you, and much appreciation to the work that's been done here. Simple me between what the public can't see is black, blue, red, yellow lines underlined and strikeouts. The one strikeout that which I'm not sure whether it was intended or not, was the was the piece for the council members in your package. Was page 32 of 246, the top bullet point, which was consider changes to the waste management contract in order to examine a more efficient approach with respect to transporting waste. The current waste contract matures December this year. Very timely, given what is here. In my limited experience, the staff had prepared and done the background work on the variety of tenders that came forward and the multiple options, which, given the new information, is likely to exponentially grow. So my question for my council colleagues and to staff is, should this task force also be asked to review potential tenders for the financial piece of this?
Let me direct that question through myself to Mr. McGrady, interim CAO.
Through you, Madam Mayor. We now have a very knowledgeable Manager of Public Works, and I think she can, she'll be leading this charge. I don't see a problem with them reviewing it. I'm just not sure whether, in fact, that should be their responsibility or council's, but
I'm either or.
Yeah.
It's just defining the piece. The example being, the task force may make a recommendation and council may not approve it. One would be moving towards alignment here somewhere.
yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Whereabouts is this? It's at the very top?
Page 32, first
Consider
bullet
change-
point.
Act as a resource for, the first bullet point, implement 9.3. Oh, I see, it was there. Consider changes to the contract in order to establish.
So it was lost in the cleaned.
You know-
and
Oh,
that's-
no, it's still in there. But I'm not sure if they're going to actually review the tenders. I think they should certainly,
Well, they'll make the ask for what the tenders look like.
yeah, I think what we can do is certainly discuss, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I think it's,
Yeah.
you know,
If
we'll
you
certainly
feel
discuss
it's
it.
covered, because there's going to be such a proximal relationship, that the key thing is that we want the education and the to and fro and whatever the suggestions are, but,
I think the committee should be involved in how to prepare the tenders perhaps, and what should be in the tenders. The tenders, though, in my opinion, and I'm not set in this, should
Yeah.
really be in your purview.
I
Okay.
think that they're in
Thank you.
council's purview under, yeah.
I think there's a little bit of a guide there too,
Yeah.
because you do have a counselor sitting on the committee itself, and should that, and
all
there will be
the cities-
cross-referencing and
Yeah.
cross-fertilization. So I think it's a very good point, Councillor McLaughlin, but I think they've got a load here
Yeah.
to
Okay,
start out with.
I'm good.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question. Any further questions? Okay, call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. The accompanying motion is to move that, I think that we have made this motion before, but more specifically following the terms of reference, move that President Ruth Simons, who has been the chair of the Climate Action Task Force, continue as the chair, including chairing the Waste Management Task Force. Could I have a council member move and second? Thank you.
So moved.
Councillor Ronsley, and a seconder. Councillor Ando, thank you. Any discussion? Call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can then also, and this can be through consensus or through a motion, but as you see, I'll be sitting on the committee ex officio, but that Councillor Joanne Ronsley sit on the Climate Action Waste Management Task Force. Do you wish a resolution for that? Yes, thank
Would you
you.
like me
And
to
so
be crucial?
could I have council please move and second? Councillor McLaughlin and Councillor Ando, any discussion? Call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you so much, and thank you to staff and Ms. Simons for working together on the terms of reference. So thank you very much. If I can then, just a second. Yes, I hear a next item. Just a second, sorry about this. If we can then move along to the organics communication strategy and timeline. I've reported out. Is that fine for all to hear? And then if we can move along then to 7A, Community Center Renovation Project. We have two resolutions, and the first resolution, if I may, if you can just bear with me a moment. Has come out of our committee of the whole meeting to this meeting. Do you have the thank you very much. Thank you. And that is that council received the interim CAO's Community Center Repair and Replace update reflecting Kindred Construction's adherence to the purchasing policy of the Village of Lions Bay and attempting, we're on, yeah, okay, in attempting to obtain the required number of sub-trade quotes. And that this be posted, was it Monday?
Yes.
Okay, Monday next, July 28th, on our website. Could I have council please move and second? Thank you, Councillor McLaughlin and Councillor Ronsley. Any discussion? Just to comment that it is an extremely comprehensive report of over 300 pages, and so hopefully that will be well to inform people.
Madam Mayor, I think just as a little bit more of a, as a preamble, is that we now know the receipt of the WED grant, and provincial grant is we've now received. We received it a couple of years ago. Kindred is now moving forward. I think the community center is well on its way. As we sent out an email today, I think we're now excited about actually looking to opening the community center in this fall, and we'll be contacting the community and community groups to start back into the community hall in a updated and repaired community center. So I think, you know, and within the budget, well within the budget that was set by council. So I think it's very exciting, and I think the community should be very pleased to see this reopening in October.
Thank you so much, and maybe I can just deepen that report for a moment on the WED, which we'd already received $112,000 prior, and today received an additional $46,000. And so thank you very much for your work on that. Pardon me? 40. Yeah. Oh, did I say 36? Pardon me, 46. I thought I said 46, looking right at 46. So that's wonderful news. And thank you to all involved. If we can then look at just the community center renovation project, I'm going to move us along. We've got the dates for the opening and the progress. Thank you very much, Mr. McGradu, and all that information will go up on the website. So if we can move to 7B, Land Use Master Plan, and the resolution, and do you have that resolution?
The council provide to the public by August 11th, the draft land use master plan, and that a public information meeting be set for September 8th at Glen Eagles Community Center, West Vancouver at 7 p.m.
Thank you so much. Could I have council please move and second that motion? Thank you, Councillor Bain and Councillor Ronsley. Any discussion or comment? Yes, thank you, Mr. McGradu.
Both reports, the community center report as well as the land use master plan, will be on our website. Copies will be available to be reviewed at the village office. Yes, in our spanking bright orange trailer. And I guess those are the only two locations at this point.
Okay, and maybe I can just add that we will put a map of the concept overview and the land use and development opportunities map up in the village, and with a note about the public meeting, which will take place September 8th, where people can come and provide input at 7 p.m. here in this location, and a note saying that the information is up on the website. So with that information, could I call question on the motion? All those in favor? Carried unanimously, and thank you very much to Robert Barr and Associates and to Joaquin Caracas, who has particularly integrated everyone's input, which has just been marvelous. And as I said to him earlier, he's been celibate to everyone, which is just great. So if I can move us along to reports, and could I have council please move receipt of reports? I'm sorry, Councillor Ann. Oh, yes, pardon me. Thank you very much. This is a really important one. Yes, could the Village of Lions Bay Council please resolve, thank you very much, Councillor Ando, to direct the Mayor to request a meeting with Minister Steve Thompson, Minister of Forest Lands and Natural Resources, as soon as possible, or at the UBCM regarding Crown land for potential residential development. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Bain and Councillor Ronsley. If I can just give a little bit of background, we've been working with Neil Curtis with Crown Lands, and he has made this recommendation at this time to see if we can move things along. So if I can ask if there's any comment or questions. None. I see none. Call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. If I can call then for receipt of reports, could I have a mover and a seconder of receipt? Thank you, Councillor Bain. And the seconder, please. Councillor McLaughlin, thank you. All those in favor of receipt? Opposed? Carried unanimously. If we can go to the interim CAO's verbal report, Mr. McGratty.
Madam Mayor, I'm not going to report anything tonight other than to state that one of the key roles of any CAO is to hire good staff and let them run things. So you're going to get reports from our new manager of public works, our senior consultant for finance, and our office coordinator tonight.
Thank you so much, and thank you. So it's my pleasure to introduce Nikki Hoagland. Nikki is our new Public Works Manager for the Village of Lions Bay, and Nikki, I'd just like to welcome you formally here. In the 3 weeks that you've been with us to this day, I believe that's correct, you've accomplished so much. And when I reviewed your report last night, as I said to you earlier, it's excellent. And I thank you very much for all of the work and the wordsmithing and packaging the work together for us in such a clear and concise, in the length of your report is appropriate to the length of the work you've done. It is a lengthy report, but in a concise, consumable, and understandable manner. So I want to thank you for that. And then just to invite you to speak to your report, and then invite council to ask any questions. So if you'd like to come to the table, please do, right here at the end. That would be lovely. And so council, we have Ms. Hoagland's report before you on page 35.
Okay, so I've been asked by the interim CAO to provide you with an information report, and you have it in your package. I've also been asked to give you a brief introduction to myself, so bear with me. I'll make it really, really brief.
Oh, it doesn't have to be that way.
So, as interim CAO Grant McGratty just mentioned, my name is Nikki Hoagland. I am your new Public Works Manager. I've been working primarily in local government since 2001, when I was hired by the City of Richmond to be their Manager of Engineering and Public Works Administration. In 2006, I moved to the City of North Vancouver, and I was the Director of Operations there, which is another way of saying Works Manager, so same basic premise here. Prior to working in local government, I worked overseas primarily in Australia, New Zealand, and Peru for an Australian construction and mining company. So a lot of project work. And you'll notice, as you get to know me, I have an affinity for plans, work plans, planning things out, making sure that projects are started and finished in a timely manner, that type of thing. Just prior to coming to the Village of Lions Bay, I was working as a consultant for the Corporation of Delta in a role that was basically to be their project management consultant. So I've got a bit of experience in managing some projects. As you'll have read in my report, my focus to date in the time that I've been here has been kind of a two-pronged approach. The first one is a work plan. I really do believe in work plans. I think that it makes everything a lot easier for everybody when you know what you're doing and when you're doing it. So as a result of sitting down with my crews and talking to them about work plans and what we're going to need to do in the future, one direct result that you'll have already noticed is the fact that we are starting a water main flushing program. That came directly out of having a work plan. And I'm quite excited about how the flushing program went. It went really well from my perspective. We did not get a lot of complaints. We did start off softly, but I think it went really, really well. We had the opportunity to go and talk to people because we had to go and try to find some valves that we didn't know where they were. We had to talk to people about standpipes in encroachments and things like that. So it gave us the opportunity to get people's heads around the fact that we're going to be in the neighborhood, we're going to be doing work, and it's going to continue. And I think that that's a very positive thing. I really do think that we should talk more and express what we're going to do, because nobody really likes surprises, especially when it's water. So, you know, it's always good to just be a little bit proactive there. My other focus has been to ensure that the projects on our capital plan that were identified to me are put out to tender in a timely manner. So the first of which I've managed to get through the process at this point is the Lions Bay Septic project. At the beach, sorry, Lions Bay Beach Park Septic project, my mistake. That has been issued today. It
Oh,
will
great.
close on the 8th of August, and we are anticipating that construction will be in a 3-week window, starting the week of the 15th of September. The main reason we chose that date is because the firefighters, I believe, have a big barbecue on the 13th. And we figured that it would probably be quite a good idea to not start a septic project right before that type of activity. So honestly, I would like to take the opportunity to say I'm truly excited to be here. I'm looking forward to working with everybody, and I'm happy to answer any questions that may have arisen from my report to you as best I can. Thank you.
Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you. And questions, I do. And you don't have to write anything down because it'll be recorded. You can catch it later. A couple of things. Thank you very, very much. Firstly, on your item I, or AI, 3AI, the Upper Ocean View Culvert, and my approach is if you could just think about it and do it as an action item, follow up for whenever your next report is. The amount of funding, you'll be happy to know, is increased 5,000 to 40,000, not 35. And along that sentence, which is in the middle, it's allocated to have a study undertaken. I don't know that we were looking for a study, we were looking for execution. But I'll leave that with you too, because I was presuming execution, but if you tell me no and why, then we'll go from there. So fine with that. On the Kelvin Grove washroom replacement, my request would be that you, I'll introduce you by email if that's fine, to Uta Phillips, who did the scope and design for the project and is integrally involved. So if I could get you to contact her and to, I recognize that this is a Works Department project, but this is, she has her hand in so far as aesthetics, and she may also have some equipment for you.
Okay.
So that's possible. For the Lions Bay Beach septic field, the budget is $50,000, but that includes the washrooms as well. And Uta Phillips is also undertaken to provide the scope and design for that as well. So as with the Kelvin Grove washrooms, when I introduce you electronically, I'd ask that you contact her. One of the things that I would see in this, which somewhat came up and which is for staff to investigate, is that if the current footprint is expanded into the flat part above the field, part of that is leased from the marina, so I'm not sure whether we can construct or whether that's part of a plan, but I'll leave that with you to work with her. So the key piece there is to...
If I can just clarify, that's actually our road end, the flat land. We clarified that when we went into BC Rail. But the BC, or CN, BC, we went in to meet with BC Rail Properties. But their roadway that they use down there is CN, BC Rail Properties. And so should it, I think that's correct.
I'll leave it with staff to confirm that we're on building on the right side of the block, and that's all, thank you. And the last item was which is not on your report, but is one of the capital projects, is the Kelvin Grove sewage treatment plant, smell remediation. And I believe you got a $10,000 budget for that. And previously, some suggested engineers have been forwarded. So.
Through your worship.
Yes, thank you.
From you. I don't have any background to what you've just stated.
We'll go through it.
You have some?
We'll go through it with you.
Yeah.
So we'll have to look into that and report back to you.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's great.
Thank you very, very much for an excellent report.
It is an excellent report. If I can move forward with my earlier comments, I'll just make them in public. First of all, it's an excellent report and details a number of projects, and I just thank you for, first of all, looking at the mosaic of projects that are in the stream. And so I want to make this point first, is that to acknowledge that the ones that I'm going to mention, the funding has already been approved. But what I mentioned to Ms. Hogland earlier is that if we can take this window when we could possibly bundle a number of the Magnesia and Harvey Creek intake road and water upgrades, not water upgrades, but in those areas, the intake area upgrades, and bundle them to formulate a Build Canada funding application. That would be great. So I don't know what's possible, but I really appreciate you working with CREAS on each of these, and as soon as they are out of the blocks, what I realize is that we've got those numbers already here. We don't, and that's fantastic. So we might even be able to send in something preliminarily. I'm not sure, but I do think that you're correct when you say, and said to me earlier, that the work does have to be shovel ready in the sense that not tendered yet, but it does have to be ready in its conceptual phase. So it would just be a way of bundling. I'll just give you the numbers that I perceive, but you might not perceive that they could be bundled together, but Roman numeral 4, Roman numeral 5, Roman numeral 6, and Roman numeral 7. 2 that have to do with Magnesia and 2 that have to do with Harvey. And it may be a way that we can bundle that together for that funding. So, and I'd be pleased to meet with you on that. Any other comments? Thank you, Councillor Ando.
First, I have to commend you on such a detailed report, especially having only been here for 3 weeks. You're brought up to speed very quickly, and that's commendable. So a couple of things. I want to know how you came about to choose to work with CREAS and what kind of arrangement it is. Mm-hmm. And then I have a specific one about the SCADA upgrades and why it's going through CREAS. I thought you were using something, some other name or some other direction. And then the last thing I'd like to know is what you see as your reporting, and maybe I should be asking CEO and graduates how often you're going to be reporting, whether if it's progress and only reporting on the ones that there's been some progress, or what we can expect, because this is phenomenal and it's great for the community, and this is the kind of communication that we need to get out to the community so that everybody knows what's going on, and there isn't this question of, well, it was in the budget, but it never got done. So if you could address some of those, I would be much appreciative.
Sure.
Thank you.
With regard to CREAS, the village has worked with CREAS previously. And so the reason that I was working with them this time around is because they had already started on started to do their proposals on a number of the projects, and it would have made little sense for me to start messing with that right as I came through the door. It is my understanding that we will be going through a process wherein we have a selection. We go through the proper process to select.
Pre-qualify.
That's it. Thank you. To pre-qualify, well, pretty much almost anybody who would bid on anything for us. And sorry, Mr. McCraddy, can you remind me when we were going to start that process?
This fall.
Drawing a blank.
Well, once through you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you.
In discussions with Nikki. Even before she started, she prepared a 100-day work plan and was very specific on what she would like to accomplish over the next little while. I'm going to go back a little bit about when we first interviewed Nikki, and one of the things I asked her is, why is somebody with your qualifications interested in coming to Lions Bay? And what really, I think, impressed me, and I think should impress everybody, is that she says it doesn't matter. I may be paraphrasing this. It doesn't matter the size of the organization, it's the quality of the work that goes into the organization. And she said she can be happy in a small place or a large place as long as quality work is being done, and she wants to make a difference. Mm-hmm. And I think the Village of Lions Bay is extremely fortunate to have somebody with her experience and commitment. So when she came forward with the 100-day plan, one of the things we did is we wanted to ensure that our projects were completed this year. So one of the complaints has been in the past is that we've started projects or money's been put in the capital projects we haven't completed. Will had used Creus with some assistance, and so Nikki and I spoke about it, and it made sense to continue with Creus at this point in time to get those projects up and going. The intent is by this fall-ish, we are going to come forward with a report on how we wish to pre-qualify a number of different suppliers. The challenge, and that obviously those will come to council, and we'll explain why we would want to pre-qualify, not just in public works, but in a number of different areas. It makes the organization move faster. We would feel we get the best value for it because we know how we're going to compare apples and apples. So that's what we're going to look at. As you said, Nikki's only been here 3 weeks. She's trying to move things forward as quickly as we can. The question that Councillor Ando is, how often do we want to report? The other part that was that I was very pleased with is when I spoke with a couple of the references that Nikki gave, is that that they both said, you will never have to second guess Nikki nor second guess her budgets. She is fanatical, I think one of the persons, on ensuring that she's correct on her budgets. And so our intent, she does, as you can see, write a report as she gets more accustomed to the organization and how the village operates, and perhaps being a little more exposed to the public than in other places. I think the format may change slightly, but I think what we're going to try to do is get this type of reporting out to every council meeting if we can, and some will be in more detail, some will be in less detail. But the intent is to make sure that the capital dollars that have been approved are efficiently spent and effectively spent. The other question was with SCADA. We have been fortunate in having some pro bono work and guidance provided to us by somebody else, not Creus. We are continuing to utilize that knowledge base. At this point in time, when Nikki says, is that likely in the form of invitation to tender through Creus? It may go through Creus. We haven't completely made that decision yet. What we're looking at is that the SCADA system is one of the many priorities that we want to move forward with. Whether we continue to use this other source of expertise, or whether we just go through Creus, or whether we can do it ourselves, is still something Nikki's still considering.
If I may add,
yes,
add to that.
thank you.
With regard to the SCADA rig, a lot of work has been undertaken prior to my arriving with the village, and the only portion that I was attempting to convey when I wrote this was that the tender itself might go through Creus. It was definitely not that Creus would be taking the lead on the SCADA, which as I reread this now, it may have appeared to read that way. So if it did, my apologies. It was mainly the process of issuing a tender that I was anticipating might go through Creus. And the main reason that I had thought that was because they have done numerous tenders for SCADA at Cyprus and in other locations that are quite remote. So it made sense to me that they might pick up on something that I may miss if I'm writing the tender with regard to the remote location, because I am, quite frankly, not used to working with SCADA in remote locations. I've worked with it in 2 cities.
Can I, oh yes, Councillor Ando.
Just to follow up, just to have a clear understanding of the village's relationship with Creus, are they on a retainer, or are they doing this right now just as free quotations, or I'm just really unclear as to where we stand with them at the moment?
We pay them.
We pay them.
So,
I think the point that was made is an important point, both the one that you brought forward, Councillor Ando, and the one that Ms. Hogland and Mr. McGrath have addressed, and that is that one of the goals that this council has had, and certainly our previous council had as well, and that is doing the pre-qualification. And this has come up again, and it's just really important. So I hear that they're on it. I have one further question, though, based on what Mr. McGrath said in his further comments, and that's about getting things done in the calendar year. So I want to say very transparently to council and to Ms. Hogland, without pressure but with opinion, and that is that the items that I identified, if we can move forward perhaps quickly to do kind of a skeleton Build Canada grant, and then as the attachments, the CREAS reports, because just when we collate the numbers that have been approved for the budget, it's $380,000. But should we receive the 2/3 funding, then it would be $252,000 funding received against $126,000 spent. So I don't know that it's possible, but we don't have one in yet for this round, and it looks like it might, big MIGHT. So no pressure, but I know that you'll think about that, and certainly pull me in. I'm around until August the 12th, when I'm not around for a couple of weeks, but I'm around till then. So thank you. Okay, anything further? And then many thanks. Thanks for being, yes, I'm sorry, Councillor Bain.
just as I read through this, your report, I was smiling when I read it, believe it or not. A lot of reports can be quite boring, but it hit a note with me that I've been watching what's been going on for quite some time, and there's been a fair amount of frustration that things just seem to take forever to get done. One of the big ambitions of everyone around this table has been to make this place better than when we left it. And I think we just took a huge jump up when I read this, so thank you very much.
I just have to thank Councillor Bain for those comments that couldn't have been more well said. Councillor Ronsley?
I'll have to be last, but not, first of all, a very big welcome. Your report is very impressive, as you are. I have no questions. I hope a report like this doesn't take you so much time to write as it suggests it does. I appreciate that very much. I also appreciate the fact that you're, as far as the Calvin Grove washroom and roof replacement, that you're not a spendthrift by taking the higher bid by $8.88, but it's the quality of the bid that you took, and that's terribly important, what we're getting for the money that we're spending. And last of all, very many thanks for thinking ahead for grants. This is a rather compulsive, it's the word, it's a rather compulsive group around this table and in the office that we love grants. They do cost us, but we get value for money spent. We do. So thank you for anticipating that, and we're here to help you in any way, so please don't hesitate that and enjoy yourself, because it's a great start. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And with that, I'll move on to I always say interim CFO. I hear my terminology is incorrect, consulting. But thank you very much. If you could join us, Mr. Suvarna, and thank you for your report this evening. Again, Council moved receipts of the report, so we'll go through the reports. And so welcome, and if you could just take us through this report. And maybe I could just consult with Mr. McGrath for a moment.
No, Nikki has to stay for the whole meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. No, if you want to leave.
No, yeah.
It's informative. Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Suvarna.
Mayor, first of all, I want to apologize because the reports that was circulated had some columns truncated. So it looked fine on the screen, but when I guess when we printed it, it just some of the columns came in with
Perfect.
So I've got some copies if you want to take a look at them. totals,
Thank
but I will
you.
just briefly go through the report. This is an attempt.
Here you go. A little more.
Yes. Plenty.
Oh, you do? Oh, thanks.
There's an extra for the group out there.
Yes.
This is an attempt on the finance part to provide a periodic report to council, basically representing how the village is doing in terms of financial results. So this is the first one to come out this year as a 6 months, the end of June, and I have to admit that we do not have all the processes that are required to provide a good, solid report. But having said that, within the means that we have, I've managed to actually come up with a report that is that represents the financial results of the village. What it shows you is basically for the first 6 months, the village's revenues and expenditures, actual versus the prorated budget. When I say prorated budget, the budget was actually
Everybody's got one. Always.
the annual budget has been prorated to 6 months.
Yes.
It's a straight line, kind of divided by 12 and multiplied by 6. So regardless, it does give us an idea of how we are doing in terms of financial performance. So in terms of revenues, we are, both in terms of revenues and expenditures, we are trending according to the budget.
Great.
So in other words, at this point actually, that there is nothing to be alarmed about, that the finances are out of control or anything like that. So all of our revenues, tax revenues, have been billed and mostly collected, of course. Yes, but for my purpose here, because I'm only reporting the 6 months results, I've not taken the full revenues yet. So that will be the full revenues for the whole year. We have received the small community grant in July. That's not part of our numbers at the end of June, but it was slightly lower than what we had budgeted. So we need to actually get back to the ministry and see why. It's not that, the difference is not that much, but nonetheless, we had taken a number in our budget and it came out slightly lower.
Would you know the approximate amount lower?
It's about $1,000.
About
I'm not sure.
$1,000,
Yeah. So
thank
it's not that much, but nonetheless, I want to find out actually why it was lower. So the revenues are fine so far, and I don't foresee any great reduction in revenues because most of our revenues are collected already, because they all come from tax revenues anyway. The only thing that may happen because of our community center being renovated, so some of the programs that are offered may not actually realize all of the revenues, but then mind you, it also has a corresponding expenses as well. So if we don't have the programs, then we don't have those expenses. So it washes out. The idea is actually to provide this information to council on a quarterly basis. So the next report I'm planning to give out is in September. And that's when we have a much better idea of how the expenditures and revenues are taking shape. And we can probably come up with a forecast till the end of the year to see how the village will end up the fiscal year. So at this point, I mean, the news is good. We don't have to panic or anything. We, in fact, on the expenditure side, we are below budget. And we are trending, well in terms of our general administration, public works, and fire and rescue. But having said that, some of our major expenditures may be coming up in the fall, so we need to be mindful about that. So that's why I'm saying September will be a better quarterly report that will provide a better picture of the village finances. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what I have here. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to.
Well, maybe I could just begin and then go to Councillor McLaughlin just by saying thank you very much for this report. This is, and Councillor McLaughlin as Chair of Finance will make these comments again, and certainly don't fear iterating my overview. I'll reserve any details to later, any questions. But I do want to thank you very much for the preparation, and thank also Councillor McLaughlin for bearing in mind this goal and for your achievement of this goal. And I have been used to, in my career, looking at my GLs every month, and it always served me in good stead, my general ledger every month, and this will serve us in good stead. So thank you very much. And I have to say, comment to all of staff that the sense of calm, orderliness that's occurring is just really wonderful. So thank you, and I'll just go on to Councillor McLaughlin for your comments.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Echoing your comments, this is staff-led. Mr. Sparn advised me of what he was doing a month ago, and it's done, and all the better. And kudos to staff for the preparation. And the residents are certainly well served with the transparency of the AP list as well, too. For your next quarter, are you thinking September 30th out in late November?
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Not necessarily November. We might be able to do
First part of December? Good.
No, October.
Oh, okay, thank you. End of October. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I just open it up for any further questions? If there, oh yes, Mr.
I
McBride.
think, again, what I wanted to do in discussions with all the staff is, and it's really Mandy it's been, I guess, leading this charge, is trying to get as much information as we possibly can out to the public, because the more information we get out to the public, the less questions hopefully that they're going to be asking, and because all the information is going to be there, and that in fact we are not hiding things. The question that was asked to me is how much work was this? As Hari pointed out, this work hasn't been done to the satisfaction, I think, of either he or I in the past, and so it has taken Hari a fair amount of work to get this template going. So I think from now on it's going to get easier. What we want to do is get this information out to the public and out to you so that you can feel confident that in fact the finances of this organization, because that's really one of the main responsibilities of the council, is to ensure that there's a proper expenditures in the organization, and I feel very confident both with Nikki and Hari here that you are going to have that.
Mm-hmm. I just have to say that inside my head I was going, what a great team. So I just want to thank you and thank each of you for that. What a great staff team. And if I might, while you're still sitting there, but turn to Ms. Hoagland to say that I had every reason on the streets of Lions Bay to think that twice in this less than a week of the Public Works team as well. So if those comments could be passed along, and I think I speak with the confidence of council in those comments. So thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, there's one other person that I need to speak, and that's Haley Cook. Haley is an incredible asset to this organization. She keeps all of us on track. She questions and challenges us. So the work that Hari does and the work that I do, she challenges us and ensure that the work that we do is right. And she's got a lot of corporate knowledge here, and she knows the organization. So I think you talk about a good team. Haley's a very, very major player in that.
Thank you very much, and please include our comments back to the whole team, but specifically as well to Haley. So thank you very much, and thank you. What I have next is the Mayor and Council's report, but is it Mandy Kuntz?
No, I'm going to suggest that it's our fire chief.
Fire chief, oh,
Who
I've got, we
comes
might as well
forward?
go into that. I'll just skip over.
Talk
Mayor-
about a good team.
Mayor, I'm going to go to 8D for council's information. Fire Chief Andrew Oliver.
He's
And-
dressed for the occasion.
Andrew, could you join us at the, he is, with his Lions Bay Fire Rescue. Thank you very much.
Big red.
Nice shirt.
Got my jacket.
Yeah, so what is it? So first of all, just want to request the Firefighters Day for September 13th.
Yes.
If we can, if that's okay with you guys, if we can
Absolutely.
do our annual fundraiser. Also, it's also to, we were hoping to get some money from Worcester Blackcomb Grant.
Yeah.
It didn't actually come through.
Okay.
So we're going to go for it again in the fall.
Okay.
But the spring funding didn't happen.
Mhm.
So I met with Harry a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So it's put a bit of a dent in our budget.
Yeah.
So what I've come to is if we get the money, it's going to be great in full. But for now, I've got to look at it that we're not going to get that money.
Okay.
So we're going to have to sort of be creative within our budget because there's some issues at the hall I have to fix.
Yeah.
The extractor system, our truck, the brakes needed redoing to
Which
get it
truck
through.
is that?
6.1 on new
6.1?
truck.
Wow. Wow.
So that's just come out of the garage.
Yeah.
So there's some expense there that we weren't aware of that I've got to sort of find the money for.
Yeah.
Is this the burn building that didn't come through?
The burn building, no, we've got them. We've done the
that?
burn. Well,
Okay.
I'm going to be doing that over the next few years.
Okay, so you
We pulled down our old burn building because it was so bad. It was
Yeah,
dangerous.
Yeah, it was done.
So with the money, we actually did that sort of at no charge. It wasn't a lot of money. In fact, I think we probably it was like a wash for what we got for the steel. Paid for the excavation and clearing that whole site up.
Mm-hmm.
So that was good. But it was just I have in here SCBA hoses and fittings. Some of this stuff I'm going to have to get. Some of the hoses I'm going to have to get because we're running low on hoses. They
They have a life.
hoses. They do, and they break. We should have 1,000 feet on a truck. We've got 750
Right.
on our truck. So obviously I'm going to have to be creative with Grant on where we're going to sort of get the money. But some money's going to come into into the capital, and we're going to just have to flip-flop around. I don't want to be up front with you guys, just so
Sure.
you're aware.
Have you, and I hope this isn't a sticky question, but has the village invoiced for Strachan?
We again, I sat down with Hayley. We went right through the invoicing. We put it together. We put all the invoicing together. Has it gone out yet?
No.
I don't know.
But we're preparing the document because we're also looking at
Great.
including an administration fee.
Fantastic. I think that's really appropriate. I've been in discussions with Electoral Area A staff. The manager has directed us to move and said that he thought that outcome would be positive.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of
was a
money.
lot of money.
Yeah.
So that again will come back in.
Yeah.
We've already paid some money out
Yeah.
for the guys on the call out. So we should hopefully we
Yeah.
get that money coming back in as
That
well.
will go to the private insurance company and
It's going to come from there, I presume.
it will come from the private
Yeah.
insurance company. Yeah.
Madam Mayor, I think we should also, perhaps, the Chief should make a comment about West Vancouver, that they did not charge.
They didn't charge.
Oh, they didn't? We've been encouraged to send our invoices in.
Yeah, they didn't charge. Because of our mutual aid, because of they did not charge.
Okay.
We met with Chief Cook, and he's absolutely He said no. We were more than happy to help you guys.
Uh-huh.
They sent 3 engines.
Yeah. That's
So
amazing.
they cost that again.
That's wonderful.
Even Vancouver with the fire
Bless
boat,
them.
there was minimal for what they could have charged us.
Oh,
you know, they
literally
didn't charge us overtime.
per hour, yeah.
Yeah, so they just kind of
$9,000
mutual aid,
an hour.
and we just covered the cost of that boat and the fuel.
Fantastic. Thank you, and thank you for being so creative with fuel source and all of that came up during that. But let me not divert you, but I thought, you know, that is a potential source of funding where I've received a possibly positive, a positive message back that it's possibly positive. So anyway, but I don't want to divert you.
No, I just wanted to come and tell you that about the money side of it, that we, you know, just so we're, again, being transparent on that we're going to have to be a bit creative on where we're at financially.
Okay. Could I ask you as well, and then I'll go to Councillor Ando, perhaps that you and I and Grant and Councillor Bain, if he'd like to join us, or any other council members, but it's specifically about land, to walk through the leased property and maybe to examine at the back of it and up the hill, because we'll be moving to look at applying for public land. So just to, you know, you really know that area and to just sort of scope it out a bit. Yeah. So put our boots on. Yes, Councillor Ando.
Do we need a resolution in support of firefighters' day on September
Thank
the 13th?
you. And probably that it's really that, and I would add, just so that we have this for any residents that might ask, that we have supported alcohol sales on that date.
Yes.
I think that's, if you could add that, Councillor Ando, and that council support the alcohol sales under the supervision of the Lions Bay Fire Rescue for that day, September 13th, is it?
September 13th,
Okay, thank you very much. And what are the hours?
Yeah, it'll be from 2. We'll start at 2 and we'll finish at, well, I like to finish at 10, but I'm going to say 11.
Yeah, thank you.
Because that gives me a buffer.
Okay, from 2 p.m. until...
But we'll be completely cleaned off the beach by 12.
Okay.
But we'll close it down at 11. Sort of, pardon?
We're doing the opening of the septic field on the 12th, though.
I know. I've already talked to Nikki about that. Had to be there.
So, kibitzing I always start taking so seriously I have to deprogram my mind that it was kidding around. Because we're dealing with the 13th and it's not happening on the 12th. Anyway, with that, could I have a mover and could I have a seconder, please, for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Bain. And any further discussion? All those, I'm sorry?
Okay, just, thank you. We do have a bylaw on the beach closures.
Yeah.
So we're going to,
this will vary.
So we'll have to vary the beach closure and noise bylaw.
And parking.
And parking.
Yeah.
Okay, so council will need to pass that one and then we can...
Let's pass this one and then we'll move forward. Thank you so much for that clarification. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And could the Village of Lions Bay Council move to support the varying of the park closure from 10 p.m. to 12 p.m.
We'll be off by 12, yeah, but we'll close it down about 10:30.
Okay.
I just like to have that buffer just so I can clean up without having a certain individual come down.
Okay. And that the parking bylaw be varied to park on angle.
Angled, yeah.
For that day to facilitate more parking, and that the noise bylaw I don't know that the noise bylaw needs...
Is it 10 o'clock?
Is it 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock, yeah.
Okay, 10 o'clock be varied to 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
11 p.m. on Saturday, September 13th. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Ronsley, Councillor Ando. Any further discussion? Call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Anything further?
No, just that Grant and myself are still talking to John Oakley, but we'll give a report on that when we get further. But that's it, I think.
Okay. Listen, well, what I want to, and I would be remiss to not thank you in your role as Fire Chief of the Village of Lions Bay Fire Rescue and all of your members. And, well, you were in the park on July 1st. I don't know if you heard my comments about the professionalism and the commitment that each of your members brings forward, not only to its response, but to training for the response. And so I want to thank you on behalf of Mayor and Council, and to ask you if you would take that forward to your crew. Thank you so much, and thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I can then, should I move along to Ms. Kuntz at this time? Just to have the consistency? Later, okay. Okay, so I'll move to Mayor and Council, and just excuse me, let me note here. Just wanted to add the dates, Ms. Kuntz, that Grant McGradu, Lori Atherton, Jerry Longson, and myself under Community Center Renewal Page 2 did meet on July 21st as well. And thank you to all. And I don't know if you've received anything in your text message regarding.
Oh, no, I
No.
haven't.
Okay.
I can do that.
Okay, thanks so much. That just with regard to the work done to date with Neil Curtis from Crown Lands, we can go ahead with Front Counter BC. We'll do some further research before we apply for public lands, and prior to making that application, of course, that discussion will come to council for resolution and the mapping. Just that for the public's information, we'll go before the minister to ask about potential Crown Lands residential development, because Crown Lands, up until I think very recently, was wanting to meet with us, but now work with predominantly big pieces of land. We're not looking to purchase land at all, so we'll, rather than working directly with Crown Lands, we've done a lot of work with them and done some mapping with them, and now we'll move to the ministerial level to discuss this as something that we can hope that they might put staff resources towards. So that's the reason for speaking with the minister. Just lastly, I did go to the opening, the announcement of the Fraser Basin Council, that not only are they looking at flood mitigation for the Fraser River, but they're also looking at sea level rise mitigation, and we have paid a small stipend to be a member of that council on that, and to derive the benefit of any information, policies and procedures that they develop about sea level rise. And certainly Lions Bay would be most interested in that. Lastly, a big thank you to the Historical Society for all they do, and they celebrate what they do annually at a croquet tournament, and Councillor McLaughlin sits on that committee, and I had the privilege of attending along with Councillor McLaughlin, that just the historical element that so many communities don't have, certainly the size of Lions Bay, but we do have a very developed and keen and focused following protocols Historical Society. So I'd like to officially just thank each of the members. Thank you so much. And going to Councillor Ronsley as the written report, and then I'll go to the table of verbal reports.
The only thing that I'd like to add to it is that last night the filming committee met here in this very room. I'd like to first of all recognize that our staff has been very supportive of getting the research out, of supporting the meetings, taking the minutes, their wisdom. Haley is sitting on that committee as well, Haley Cook. They're working very diligently, that committee, and very capably with this support. And our next meeting, I should tell you, we'll be refining the suggestions that have come forward from research done in at least 5 different communities on what our filming bylaw might be. Our next meeting is in September, and I'll be writing, there'll be minutes from this meeting submitted at that time. Also, I don't know when the final moment will come for this committee, but I have to compliment once again our volunteers, capable, resourceful, diligent. We couldn't do without them. And so if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But for right now, we're still working through needs, that there are needs. I should like to say, too, that we had a faithful group of people in the sitting in the seats that our friends are sitting in now. It was quite calm. It hasn't always been calm. It was. They were very helpful. They were open, and so we have a feeling that people are getting to understand the needs of the village and the needs of the individuals and the needs of the homes and the possibilities of what filming in the community can mean to everybody in this community as far as recognition and income. So there we are. If there are any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Okay, I'm going to go in alphabetical order. Councillor Bain. Pardon me, Councillor Ando. I'm looking at Councillor Bain as I put away an ABC puzzle today. Councillor Ando.
I think you were followed that.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Bain, I was looking right at Councillor Bain when I said that. Councillor Bain.
I have nothing either.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McLaughlin.
Nothing to report.
Thank you so much. If we can, oops, I'm
I wonder if
sorry.
I could ask a question, and I guess it would be for you, Councillor Ando, and it has to be with the Infrastructure Committee. It's been a while since I've heard anything about it. Is there anything to update us on the Volunteer Infrastructure Committee that you...
My understanding is that we're waiting for staff to review with Mayor Broughton and the new Public Works Manager schedule, Excel spreadsheet.
The schedule.
And then after that review has been done, they're going to contact the committee. So currently, I believe that we're in a holding pattern, but I'm not sure when they're planning to meet. Maybe they could, Mr. McGrath can update us on whether there's any time. I know that Nikki's just started, so that we didn't want to give her too much, and I didn't want to push. So
This is a query. This is not in any way
No, I
anything more than that. So I think you've answered the question. I don't need anything more detailed.
I really appreciate your respectfulness of this, that Ms. Hoagland has just begun, and you can see that she's going to be a great resource for us. And so what I hope for is that we can do a review of the current projects, and that sort of creating a baseline of today, and also any projects that we can quickly get to Build Canada, rather than delay the projects, but get those done as well. And then Ms. Hoagland is going to be a key piece of being involved with that review of Schedule A. But the Schedule A is a really good starting point, because that's been all reviewed and signed off and brought to that point. So if it's okay, given the schedule, maybe what I can suggest is that we look at that in September, if that's okay. Council recesses in August, and normally I am here, but I've got a daughter moving away for 2 years, and I'm going to help her. Well, council is in recess. So if September is a good time, Mr. McGrath, does that sound reasonable to you? For a review of Schedule A?
We'll attempt to.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Thank you, I appreciate that. If we can then, go on to any questions about any of the reports before you, the Board of Variance, the Tree Committee application. The Board of Variance says, any questions there? Seeing none, it's just a regular report that comes through. The tree application, the Lions Bay Fire Department, I see the fire chief is no longer here, but you, pardon me, I'm sorry, going back to tree?
We'll go back to trees on the Arts Council, if that's okay. So if everybody on the package 59 of 246, It's tree application number 49. The chairman of the tree committee's advice is pretty straightforward. I'm ready to go with the resolution to accept.
So could you move the resolution?
Yes, be it resolved that the Village of Lions Bay Council approve the recommendation of the tree committee with respect to tree cutting application number 49.
That it not be approved.
That it not be approved.
Okay. Thank you. A seconder, thank you. Councillor Ronsley. Any discussion? Councillor Ando?
I have a question in general for Councilor McLaughlin.
Yep.
I was wondering, how do you determine what trees are on village property?
The staff provides the information to the tree committee.
So the staff have surveys or something that
Points.
determine that trees are on, or I just don't understand the process, so if someone could explain it to me, it would be helpful.
From what I have seen, the request comes in, the letters go to neighbors, the staff researches what the request is based on the pictures and where the proximity of the properties are, and usually it's
So there would be something that would show like a village easement or something that says that the trees are on the village.
I haven't seen it myself. It comes to me as information that's on village property.
Maybe interim CAO McGrath
If we can,
help us.
through the mayor, to Mr. McGrath, can you assist us with this, or maybe?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't know how this is done. So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
can certainly research it, but I've not been involved at all with the tree committee.
Councillor Ronsley?
I believe that when there's an issue or a question, and the question is it on public land, which is village land, or is it on private land, the homeowners, a survey, if it isn't available, is asked for by the person applying, the homeowner, and they have to provide the survey at their expense in order to determine whether or not these trees are on private property or they are on public property. And as you know, we don't touch anything on private property.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move us along then. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
Arts Council.
Arts Council. Now, is this something that you're moving the?
We haven't called motion.
We haven't
I'm
voted on
sorry.
it.
Thank you.
What's
Call
that
question on the
address?
motion.
What's
All
the
those
address
in
on that
favor?
place?
Carried unanimously. If you're bringing this forward that's been put on table, it hasn't been voted to the table, so we need to put it to the table.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. So could you move?
On table is the 2013 budget request for the Arts Council, and I'd like agreement that it's placed on table.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Bain. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank
Please
you.
proceed.
I'll be brief with this.
Sure.
Mayor Broughton, it's going to lead to a council decision, either by resolution or other. For the council members, which was excerpted from the community grant application by the Arts Council, along with their longer form grant. Telling them what I can tell you very quickly, that they are the largest volunteer group in the Village of Lions Bay. They do some of their own fundraising through a variety of events, and they raise money from their own sponsorships, Odlum Brown being one, previously $1,500. This year it was cut in half. To quickly go through the issues with the Arts Council, their community grant request was $7,800. Somehow it got down to $7,500 in a translation. We requested that to conform to overall budget, they reduce this to $1,500 for a total of $6,000. Somehow it got conveyed to them that the budget was reduced by $2,000 to $5,500. So that is the arithmetic behind it. I'll quickly go through this. But first, let me say, colleagues, staff members, Arts Council executive members, as a liaison for the group, I apologize for the inefficient use of everyone's time as regards this community grant. Innocent enough as a budget matter, not as a value matter, the Arts Council budget was reduced to conform the overall budget. Asking Arts Council to come forward if they need more than the $5,500 is unworkable for them. they were prepared to go with this, but given the summer break and the events that they're planning, it's unworkable for them. I believe it's cumbersome for staff as well. The choices for council are to, in my view, to approve the $7,800 funding, and I can go over bullet point by bullet point what they would provide for each of these value pieces, and council can decide which they'd like to eliminate.
Any discussion? Councillor Bain.
Is there room in the budget to move it back up to 78?
In my view, the overall budget of the village is a moving piece. There's projects that are delayed out. I mean, it's, do I think that, in my personal view, do I think the village budget will balance for what will be $2,100? Yes, I do.
Had to ask.
So, it really is a council decision. I mean, it's either the grant's done or we ask the Arts Council not to do some of the work. Yes. Oh, sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry, Councillor Ando.
I think the two arts events that they usually do, one is the garden arts.
Yes.
Yes.
And then the other one is an indoor one.
It's
what time of the year is that indoor one?
The last year it was the fall concert one at the beach, which was rain and winded out.
Yeah.
So that was their intention, to do something like that again.
Didn't they have one that was inside where they blocked the windows and that?
About 2 or 3 years ago.
2 or 3
yeah.
years ago, they did an internal deal.
And so if last year's was canceled, was the money spent in advance and non-refundable, and that money's
No,
not there?
they recovered the money that they would have spent so that we didn't get an invoice.
So last year they didn't spend as much
Zero.
as they
Yes,
had
that's
budgeted
correct.
for,
Yes,
so-
that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are they doing the banner program this year?
Yes, I'll just quickly run down for time myself doing this, since we'll go through the bullet points. So the annual banner program, as I understand that this is the banners for the village. There's 12 of them contemplated. This will be the contest, design, production, and there's potential for more banners. There's some consideration of an honorarium for the winner. The second point being the art for the washrooms. I think that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Number 3 is signage. This is the 40th anniversary. All of the village signage is run through them, and it's professionally done with stands and Courtplast. The 4, Councillor Rando is, hall rental is in kind, so that's
in kind.
Councillor Rando has mentioned the 2 projects, one which has already successfully been done, and I'm pretty sure if my location was an indication. I had over 110 residents at my place, and I know there was well over 75 at the reception. The fall concert is being contemplated as well. The next bullet point, which is a program which supports local artists, etc. This is contemplated as a potential for 3 arts and crafts fairs early in November. I think going through here, there was also a series of musical concerts with residents, artists' evening receptions, etc., etc. I understand some of this is also goes into children's programming as well, and they're planning for summer events, which includes kind of a Kids Arts Day, 1 day a month, which has got one of the local writers giving a writing class, one of the local potters doing pottery work. And I think the next one, which is supporting the Sea to Sky Arts Councils, which they communally advertise each other. And there we go.
Councillor Bain.
Well, I think as much as this is the first year of the new grant proposal system, there's undoubtedly going to be some glitches, and I think maybe we should show them a little bit of leeway on this one and let them have their 78 as normal. It sounds like it was an unintended consequence that they got shorted.
If I could just add to that, is that the management of the annual banners is certainly a value add for the village. They do it without a speck of, I won't say a speck, but of staff time. You know what I mean? They are doing it very effectively and efficiently. The Calvin Grove Park renewal has been in in the wings, waiting. So if the same process had happened last year, we'd say, oh, wasn't this unspent funds from last year coming forward, for example? But the funds were not spent last year. And then signage and promotion, just nothing but professionalized and creative pride, the signage that you see in the village promoting the different events. Again, they work directly with the events people and just take that right off our desk. Hall rental and storage. That $1,000 is probably already spent, and so I don't know what events in the fall. But so as I'm looking at this, I'm really looking, okay, is there any wriggle room here this year, because they don't have a growing budget, because they simply didn't invoice for last year's anything not done. And I don't know in terms of the support for the promotion of the arts, the Sea to Sky Arts Council. That would be the only thing that I don't know whether that should be member supported or us supported, but either way, I can't see much room in there other than $7,800.
I think the final point too is that certainly this evening we've seen one of their executives assisting us on another project on a pro bono basis, and the president or chairman of the Arts Council has personally done the scope into the design of the Kelvin Grove washroom on a pro bono basis, and we're asking her to do the same for the central. So my read on balance is that, again, as I said, this we asked them to accept this on a budget basis, not a value basis, and the choice before council is to accept the full budget or to pare back the budget.
I'm just going to go to Mr. McGrady.
Maybe I'll speak after the vote.
Okay. Could I just ask, are there further comments? Call a question on the vote then. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. I'll go to Mr. McGrady.
Madam Mayor, I think Councillor Bain made the statement is that this is the new year for that we introduced the new policy, and maybe not all the groups understood the process that we were trying to implement. My only caution is that for next year, council should not get into the position of deciding what they're going to fund or not. We rely on the volunteers to make those decisions, and I think it would be a dangerous slope for council to look at the projects and determine which of these they should be getting into. Now, you certainly can, but that will become very time consuming, and that's really the role of those committees. So I fully understand that this is a new time, a new process that we started, but I think when we get it rolled out next year, much earlier, because it was late this year, but much earlier, that gives the volunteer groups plenty of time, and in fact almost a full year, to understand what they need to provide us. And I think to their credit, they provided us a lot more information to council than they ever have in the past, and and that's to their credit. Next year there will be you'll set the amount of money that you're prepared to pay or to grant, and then determine how many in each group should receive that.
Thank you very much for that information. And to the table, what we did up until last year, it was just because there was so much going on and change was in the air between yourself and Mr. Zaba, who went to Port Coquitlam. But I think that's what caused this. But we did have them notified in October, early October, and to come and either present to council their budgets. So it may be that might be a very good idea to have it that early. I mean, the earlier we can get budget information in, just the better. So thank you very much, and thank you for setting up this new system. I think that's been central to empowering the whole process. So if I can, are there any comments for the other reports? The Lions Bay Fire Rescue, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And if there be none, we've already moved receipt of them. I'm going to move along to Ms. Kuntz's report on resolution to relocate September meetings, and ask council to move that the Village of Lions Bay Council approves the relocation of September council, committee, and land use master plan meetings to a meeting facility located outside the village boundaries, with location details to be posted in accordance with the Village of Lions Bay Council Procedures Bylaw number 453. Could I have council please move and second? Thank you, Councillor Bain and Councillor Ronsley. Again, this is because our community centre is being worked on, repaired at this point, and the school is on strike. So we thank West Vancouver's Community Centre for welcoming us and for the relatively low fees that we're paying here. And thank you, Ms. Kuntz, for organizing this. So could I please have council, we have a mover and a seconder. Yeah, could we have council move and second? Councillor Ando? And, pardon me? We did, I thought so.
Yeah, we did that.
Call question on the motion. Oh, I'm sorry,
Discussion.
Councillor Ando? Yeah,
Discussion.
discussion. Sorry, I thought you were voting and I thought.
No, I was waiting for the discussion.
Oh, yes, discussion.
And voting for discussion.
Yes, thank you.
So if they resolve the labor disruption with the West Van School District, will we be moving back to the school? The reason why I ask, I think it's more convenient for the residents to meet at the school than to come here. They're both equally as good facilities, but I just think for convenience of the residents and for the ability of the residents to be able to attend, I would like to see as many residents as possible for the input. So is there a provision for that?
I'll go to Mr. McGradu.
Madam Mayor, for the September 2nd, no.
Yes,
Unless they are able to resolve it. But all indications is that they're not going to solve it before the end of August. The word that we've heard is that the legislature is not going to be recalled until October 6th at the earliest. If they're going to legislate, if they solve it beforehand, but they're still going to have to ratify it. We have a meeting on September 8th, which we're going to notify people and publicize as much as we can, so that's probably not going to be good to change location of that. The 16th might, because that's a council meeting, you might be able to change that. But it says in here, and then the land use master plan, as we said, is on the 8th. So we could, it may be a little confusing, but I think the only one that we perhaps might be able to is the 16th, but I think at this point it's not looking that good. But if we can, we'll try.
Because if we pass a resolution that we're going to move it, and you don't have provisions to move it back, do we have to meet and pass another resolution to say that we have to move it back? No. Okay. Okay. And then how would you coordinate that staff would make that decision, that if there's enough time and the notice is appropriate, that for the 16th meeting, if the school was open and available, then you would change it based on the labor action?
Between that and also the cancellation policy here at Glen Eagles, which I believe is a week.
I see. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that question clarification. I'm going to call a question on the motion. Oh, I see you want to add
just the
something.
only, 16th is the only one.
Yeah,
that's
that part I
okay.
understand. I was
Okay.
cognizant of that, but I realized that they're grouped here in 3, but
Yeah.
should deal with it.
And we might let them know we'll be meeting in this room, will we? On the 8th?
Yes.
Okay, so we hope for a great big turnout, and so people will be cozy. But
Will we
yes,
fit in this room?
we can, I guess,
It holds,
This is the only room we have.
yes.
this is the only room they have for us, okay. We go there and open up that door and the outdoors and let everybody in. Okay, with that, call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can move along then to the resolution to earmark donated funds. This resolution is be it resolved that the Village of Lions Bay Council authorizes to issue a tax receipt to the donor, and disbursement of donated funds may be applied to expenses specifically related to native plant garden initiatives. So this is for a donation that we've been in receipt of, $1,000, as it says in your package. And in order for CCRA to deem this all legitimate, because we can give a tax receipt, but we need to then vote, count, it needs to come to the village, even though it's got a designation, we need to be the ones as council to designate the location that that donation goes to. The request is for this donation by the donor to go to the native plant garden, and so the resolution before you is to designate this expenditure towards the native plant garden as it has been intended. Yes, Hari?
It's also
Mr.
that
Suvarna?
in order to issue a tax receipt, the funds have to be received by the village and it becomes village funds. And council basically authorizes that this fund may be used for certain initiatives by, in this case, it's native plant garden initiatives. So
Thank you very much, and appreciate this coming forward in such a time-sensitive manner. Could I have council move and second? Thank you, Councillor Bain and Councillor Ronsley. Any discussion? Yes, Councillor Bain.
My background's been in with charitable organizations, and it's long been a standing policy when somebody makes a designated donation, it must be given to that. Now, how is that different than a municipal where there was no staff would get together and have to decide that? It was legislated. How is that different in a municipal then?
It's not any different. If a donor gives money to the village for village program, you know, like it could be public works or it could be parks or whatever, then it is village program and the village has direct control over those funds, so the village can issue the tax receipt. In this case, it's not very clear because this is a volunteer program. This is not necessarily a village program as we understand. So if a donation is received for an organization that may have certain arm's length kind of a dealing, then that then the council basically designates, it can designate those funds can be used for those programs. So that's,
If I could just clarify, I think that it's really important to clarify that the native plant garden from its inception came through this council, was born through this council's decision-making, through the initiative and vision of community resident Mary Miles. And that the planning for the program, the design, etc., has come through this council for, again, its blessing. So it is, and it's on our village land. So it is a program of the village, but it's a volunteer-led program. And like many of our very skilled volunteers, they take these things to that level where, for example, volunteer Rob Simons then designed a kiosk for it. Again, the kiosk design came through this table and was blessed at this table and then moved off. So just to clarify that the native plant garden, unlike let's say the community garden, which we love and adore, but that is something that's on our land. They pay a stipend for the use of the community gardens, but it is something that's led separately. But the native plant garden is under phenomenal leadership. A 5-generation botanist, I think it is, an amazing person who was the artist in resident at Van Dusen Gardens for how many decades, and you probably see her works every Fairmont hotel. But if I can, oh, thank you very much. If I can, thank you for bringing this forward, because there was that feeling of lack of clarity that we went over, Councillor Ronsley and myself, and wonderfully Mr. Suvarna and Haley Cook. So we wanted to clarify that. It's just because this native plant garden operates so well and has so many volunteers who will bring this in, and then we buy the soil for it, and the volunteer picks up the soil, etc. So anyway, but so to that point, I hope that that helps the overall sense as well. Councillor Ronsley?
Yes, it was a wonderful outcome. There was $1,000 given to the Native Garden in order to finance, in one check, in order to finance the irrigation system. There was a recognition that this had to be reseeded for, or it was requested to be reseeded for interest. I want to thank the office staff, and that was Hari and Haley and Mayor Broughton and I, late on a Friday afternoon. It was all resolved, and I had an email from Louis Peterson this morning, who is presently in Scotland, and he's the business end of the garden, and he said that to thank one and all, and Mary was very relieved that all is in order. So thanks to all of you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Okay, call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can move along then to, let me move this along, to bylaws, to bylaw number 461, animal control and licensing, for third reading. And if I can have council move third reading, and seconder, please. Councillor Bain, and a seconder. Councillor McLaughlin. With third reading, I don't believe there's any discussion. Call question on the...
Can I ask a question?
I don't think there's any discussion,
question?
unfortunately.
Not even a question?
There's no discussion.
No question.
My apologies, just the...
I'm sorry.
It's not our rules, it's Robert's.
I'll ask it later.
Thank you very much. Call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If you can clarify that with staff,
Okay, it's okay.
Is that kind of good? If we can move along then to the next bylaw number 474, election procedures. Move adoption on page 85. Could I have council please move adoption?
This is an adoption, you can't have an election.
Pardon me?
This is an adoption, you can't have an election.
Okay, there you go. But if I can ask council to move and second, please. Thank you, Councillor Ando and Councillor Bain. Again, call question on the motion. All those, yeah. I'm going to,
Sure.
not for adoption. These are the unfortunate rules of order that are universal. Call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If I can, then move us along to correspondence and ask council to move receipt of correspondence. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Bain and Councillor Ronsley. Call question on receipt. All those in favor of receipt? Carried unanimously. If we can go to the any in the external correspondence that council wishes to pull out and identify. There are a couple, number 1, 3, and the second to last one from the bottom. So Prime Minister, Minister Oakes, and City of Prince George. But let me just quickly go, and they're not going to take very, very long. Just that the one from the ministers in response to our letter to them regarding the LNG supertankers. Just wanted to note the acknowledgement of receipt of that. And the one from Minister Oakes is about the oath of office, just drawing that to your attention. And probably it's already been drawn to the attention of staff, whether we go with this oath of office or another oath of office as a Village of Lions Bay. Lastly, the Prince George, I don't know if council has had an opportunity to look at that one, but it's just to do with supportive funding. The City of Prince George is calling on supportive funding for women who have, or girls, pardon me, who've been abused, and that may have come out of the Highway of Tears. I don't know, I'm just trying to find it right now, what page that might be on if somebody finds it. But it really is just to highlight that that will come up at the UBCM. And not to say anything one way or another, but it's such a critical issue, and so those who are attending UBCM, that will come up for discussion and a vote for that additional funding, which would be so critical in all areas, but certainly in the City of Prince George area as well. So if I can then move us along, we've moved receipt of all of the letters. Are there any other letters from the external letters that any of council would make note of? Okay, if we can go to the internal letters, and no, are there any that council wishes to note? I'd just like to thank former councillor Pete Hagerhelm for her note. I thought that was very helpful and informative. And just with the second one, just that I'd like to mention that staff do not make comment to myself, I don't believe, to any of council on who may have made any request on one thing or another. So I just wanted to make note of that. Are there any other that perhaps you might draw our attention to, Mr. McGrady?
No.
No? Just that it is fire season and we're aware of that, but just for staff information. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Ando, I'll go to you in just a moment if I may. Just for staff's information, that when it is very dry in the woods, then we do work with the coastal fire folks and with the Squamish Forest District to close our fire district under extreme conditions. So at the Lions Trailhead, etc. But it's in discussion with them. But it's something that where we don't own the forest, but the Village of Lions Bay does work very strategically with the Squamish Forest District. But yes, Councillor Ando?
I'd like to go to page 186 of 246.
186.
So
Just a second. Yes.
So I'm not discussing the content of this email. I'm discussing really the procedures of how council receives correspondence. So my understanding was that and I think it's widely known, at least over the last 2 years, that for something to be included in the agenda package, that residents should CC reception when when they want it to be included in the correspondence, to be included in the council package. And so on Wednesday or Thursday, Tuesday or Wednesday, there were some emails with respect to Isle Place and trees, and those emails had CC reception, and so the point I'm drawing from here is that Mrs. Collin has not copied reception, but she has copied all of council, so this should go into the incoming correspondence. Please and thank you. And then I was sent an email which went from, and I don't know why I was CC'd, but it went from reception to Mandy, and then I was CC'd on the, with regards to the survey, and then I responded to that, replying to all. Please include in correspondence on the regular council meeting of the 22nd. And then it wasn't in the council package. And then the public covers had asked that it be included, and Mandy had responded, and then Interim CEO McGrady replied that your correspondence has been between Councillor Ando, myself, certain council members, Dr. Brown, and I have copied the Ministry of Transportation. The problem that has arisen is that Councillor Ando knew he should have copied me when he wrote to Ms. Kuntz. Councillor Ando failed to do this, and as a result, I was not aware of this request. Thus, the exchange of the correspondence was not placed on the agenda. And so I'm having a real tough time understanding the rules and procedures are continually moving. And I believe, and it's my understanding of the rules, that of the procedures, that if reception is CC'd, that it's going to be in the council package as long as it meets a certain date criteria prior to the meeting. So I don't know whether the rest of Councillor Bain or Councillor Ronsley, whether that's your understanding too, whether if it's CC'd to reception that it comes into the council package. Councillor McLaughlin?
My experience is, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can I just
Yes,
to
could you?
the office level
Ms. Kuntz?
procedures tend to be, what happens is if it's sent to all of council, so all of council has to receive it, if it's addressed to council, which the piece of correspondence that you sent me it didn't go to everybody. And that you're right, it's received by a certain date, and that it goes to reception. And quite often people miss reception. And I believe you forward.
I forward, if somebody sends something to me, I forward it to
There's
reception.
one oversight on the piece of correspondence that actually is in the package. The one oversight that was overlooked when reception compiled that for me is that there's another email from that resident saying, please include this in the package. So, you know, she's asked for it to be included in correspondence. I believe all of council was copied on that as well. So the piece of correspondence that you and I discussed, and then Grant came into the conversation, not all of council was in that thread.
So, but the public covers the emails with regards to the survey, and I'm not sure whether you want to.
Should I recuse myself at this point?
Might want to.
Well, this is Madam Mayor.
What is the topic we're on? Are we on, if we're on a procedural topic, I'm staying.
That's what
Okay,
That's what we're
okay,
on.
we're on a procedural topic, so for the minutes, if it could say procedural topic. You know, why don't we clarify this? Because I'd love to speak to it, except that I don't really know anything about it.
So is your understanding that if it's CC to reception, that it's coming to the council package?
You know, what I'm doing is I'm thinking about this because in order for me to, if I receive something to mayor and council and reception doesn't receive it, I forward it to reception and I'll say, Mr. Abbott, I'm forwarding this on to reception or something like that. Probably each one in this room has received something like that to me. But I'm thinking, reception receives so many things. So I don't know if reception publishes everything they've received or publishes things they've received that have gone to council. But do they publish the chat back and forth? I don't know that. That's what's happening for me. I'm thinking about it. Okay, what's the logic here? I'm not sure what the logic is. Because when reception receives something that is, they do send it out to council if it's to reception. So if I email, let's say your reception, and I email reception, this note versus reception being CC'd, I can see how this got a little bit fuzzy. Because if I'm a resident and I send to reception my note to mayor and council, or to Mr. McBride or whoever, then it's come to me. But I often will copy reception on chat back and forth as a courtesy. But does that come here? So I'm thinking this is actually something that's a bit of like a chess game.
The original emails included Mr. McGrather. And so, and then I don't know why I was CC'd when reception sent it to Mandy. Why would they single me out and CC me that it was going to you? And not advise Grant.
But Mr. McBrader's...
I can answer that because I forwarded it from reception to me. There's nobody in the office on a Wednesday. I saw that I wasn't in the thread, so I didn't know what it was about. So I forwarded it from the reception computer to myself, but I wanted you to know that I had done that.
Okay, and then why didn't you want Mr. McGrath to know that?
I just hadn't had a chance to talk to him about it yet. That's,
But,
and then
you
your
know,
email
so,
came
so,
through.
you know, when I replied all, you know, he wasn't there, and so the email gets missed. I don't understand why
The only-
he wasn't included. So
the only
to
part-
me, it doesn't make any sense.
I
The
think
only
they-
part he would have missed was it going from reception to me, the whole thread he was in.
If I can just clarify, what comes here is council's correspondence. But Mr. McGradu's correspondence doesn't come to.
I agree.
Yeah.
It wasn't
And
council
Ms. Kuntz-
correspondence, though.
Just to clarify so that you know where the bit of challenge, I mean, I'm
No,
trying to
I believe it
follow.
was a council correspondence because it came to all of council with the exception of yourself because it was to do with
I see.
Isle
Okay,
Place. So
okay,
they,
I see.
I believe
I
that they,
see.
I
So,
don't know whether
right,
they
so
did that, but I
got you.
believe
'Cause I'm
that they
thinking,
probably
interesting.
purposely excluded you because of
Perfect,
the
thank
conflict.
you.
So
Yes.
I don't know
No,
that,
thank
but
you,
that's
bless
what I
you.
assume.
I guess
Don't
we-
want
you
to
know,
be
let's give him a
included.
chance.
Madam Mayor, I think
Yeah.
an easy way to address this is that we've found over the period of the time that there's been a lot of issues that are not dealt with respect to procedures.
Yeah,
Mandy has prepared a draft amendment to the procedures bylaw. I think we can, in which we're planning to bring
Yeah,
in
totally.
September on a number of different issues.
yes.
Quite easily is that we can include how
Sure.
correspondence is addressed.
I think that simply is the solution.
So that it's clearly within our procedure bylaw.
Yeah, yeah. So if that works, I think that's sort of the best way to move us forward.
Then everybody is clearly aware of
Okay.
how the correspondence is addressed.
Yeah, I think that makes absolute sense.
So with regards to the public covers email, when will that be included and so that it's on the public record in the public eye? Will it come to the next council
Part of the
meeting?
agenda.
I'm not sure.
If they've requested that it comes, which they already have, would it be included in the
That's how we
correspondence?
would handle it.
Yeah,
yes.
that makes sense without being procedural and not needing to recuse myself. It makes sense for it procedurally.
Oh, well, I think we need to review it with respect to Robert's rules. So we'll look through it.
Okay,
And
okay. I'm gonna move us along if that's okay, with all due respect. I'm not, honestly, I don't know whether I should recuse myself just to deal with this procedural matter separately, but because I'm just,
I don't think so.
no.
I don't think so.
I don't feel, it's a procedural matter. I'd be fine if it comes to, whenever it should be coming, it
It's
should be coming.
procedural.
This is procedural.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to take this opportunity, if I may, is there anything else in correspondence? Okay, thank you. I'm going to move us along then to new business, but before I dive in and then I'll go to Ms. Kuntz, I'm just going to say thank you very much to Lori Atherton, who is pro bono doing work for us on the finishing surfaces, carpet, floor surfaces, counter surfaces, and some cladding for the community center. And I wish to publicly thank you for that. Thank you. We first wanted to text her to see if we could publicly thank her for that, so we received a text back saying yes. So thank you. If I can bring Ms. Kuntz forward for the volunteer policy, page 209 in your package, and thank Ms. Kuntz very much for all of the work on this and the conflict of interest policy for staff. I just am most appreciative of the work you're doing, and just as somebody said this week, having it done before it's been requested. And that was a high compliment, but very meant and experience regularly. So thank you. If you can.
Well, the policies in your package, happy to answer any questions. Something important to note is that when I started researching volunteer policies in small municipalities, what I found was that small comparable municipalities don't have volunteer policies. They're probably unique like we are, and we rely on our volunteer base so much that there's really just an understanding and appreciation for the work that's being done. And so it goes on in its merry way because it's working for everybody in a small, tight-knit community. The problem with that is when you start to look at things like insurance and risk mitigation for worst-case scenarios, that doesn't cut it for the insurance company. And if something were to happen to one of our volunteers, we have to make sure that we meet the criteria to have them covered while they're doing those works. And so the challenge, of course, was not being able to find a comparable municipalities policy to assist with compiling ours. So a lot of this is just taken from the pieces from bigger municipalities that integrate well in what we need to cover from a risk standpoint, and then taking into account the way things have been occurring in the village that should be reined into a policy loosely, but just used as a guideline. So the gold seal for volunteer coverage in the municipality under the municipal insurance is reporting back to staffing council and being able to prove that council and staff are aware of the works being done, not necessarily overseeing all those tasks, but that the reporting is coming back on a regular basis to council. I'm suggesting that should happen on a quarterly basis, just so that we're aware of what's going on, and it helps us too to identify risks that maybe we didn't see as these projects unfold. So the policy is in front of you, and any other questions you have, I'm happy to answer.
Okay. Could I have a mover and a seconder? I've read this in detail, and the only query I had was in fact a quarterly basis. Should it be quarterly or as makes sense, or if you feel quarterly?
I think at minimum it should be quarterly.
Okay.
The other thing I did when I didn't want the quarterly reporting to be intimidating to our volunteer groups.
Yeah.
I didn't want to make this a very cumbersome endeavor for our groups because we want them to keep wanting to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it's a benefit to us. So I need the template for the reporting form. It's very simple. It's a one-pager.
Just a checklist, really.
Really, yes. And it gives council the opportunity, if this came forward in a council package, it really gives council the opportunity to then ask more clarifying questions if they want to. You know, so I was trying to make it easy for the volunteers.
Okay. On the volunteer code of conduct and waiver, the first box, could we add council into that listing as well? I will display.
I believe that's covered in the council code of conduct because this is where I took this from.
Oh, okay. Okay, fantastic. Okay. So with that, first of all, could I have somebody move and second? Thank you, Councillor McLaughlin and Councillor Ando. Any questions or comments? Again, thank you very much. This is very inclusive, and the line is drawn at places that are very thoughtful and demonstrate a knowledge of the community. So with that, call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can move along then, really nice, to the conflict of interest policy. And if you can move and second the conflict of interest policy, or perhaps do you want to report on it first?
I don't know if there's a lot to say. I think everybody's aware of
this is for staff.
Preempted the drafting of this policy. One thing that's interesting is that we could have signed another municipality that had a conflict of interest policy.
Really?
But we did have a lot of other municipalities saying, hey, send us yours when you write it.
Oh, fantastic.
So, you know.
This is, I'd mentioned to Mr. McGradu when I reviewed this that we do have in our personnel policy a number of these elements covered, but not in a separate policy. This is fantastic. It's very well laid out. So could I have Council move and second? Councillor Bain and Councillor McLaughlin. Any discussion, comments or questions? Being none, call question on the motion. It's an easy. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If I can move us along then, and thank you very much, Ms. Kuntz, for the work on that. Oh, the communication survey. Do you want to come before?
Do you want to skip to D while I set it up?
Yes,
Is that
sure.
all right?
Okay, the Grand Fondo Whistler traffic pattern memo is before us. Do we require a resolution for that?
I'm not sure, I wasn't here last year.
Okay, I think this is an information piece. We had already resolved to support. That support isn't financial, it really is to say what we know they're going to do is change the traffic pattern for that day, September 13th. And we normally have the largest cheering sections between Vancouver and Whistler. So if you are so inclined, it's a lot of fun.
The best.
Oh, no. It's so much fun. Councillor Hando.
Do we know, or do you know if the bridge just before going down into Horseshoe Bay, whether that will be complete before the Grand Fondo?
I don't know. The bridge
Because
going...
currently there's a bike detour, so they must have thought all of it.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So I'm just,
I have no idea. They must have thought that.
They
out.
must have.
The traffic
so.
information that they've sent to us is to do with the changes. What happens is they close the side of the highway that's the east side of the highway, the northbound, and they put two-way traffic on the southbound. And it honestly is a lot of fun if you're up early in the morning. And the people, thousands and thousands of people, about 8,000 bikers go by. I'll just move my chair. Including residents of Lions Bay.
Sorry.
Okay, so we're, so I don't believe that the Grand Fondo is neat report. I think it's information. So if we can move along to the survey, and thank again Mandy Coots for not only doing the survey but also compiling the results and presenting them to us tonight. So Ms. Coots?
So we put the survey live online on May 20th. That was the result of having a great communications presentation at, I believe it was our May 6th Committee of the Whole from Jessica Delaney. And she gave us some really good ideas on best practices, and we thought that the easiest way to start that ball rolling was to find out how we communicate now and how people would prefer to communicate with us in the village. So we also sent hard copies out with all the tax notices. We knew it would reach every household for those who prefer to do a hard copy, and then they brought those back to the office and I manually plunked those all in. So
this is great.
We had 147 responses, 93 were submitted online, 54 were paper submissions that we entered manually. So we thought that was a relatively decent response for our first kick at the can. The first question we asked people was how they currently receive most of their communication from the village, and most of that comes from e-post, emails, which didn't surprise us. The next one did surprise me. Lions Bay Community News was second. People felt that was their second most valued way to receive information from the village. And third was the village updates, which of course comes out monthly. When we asked how often people receive communication from us, we had overwhelming majority of people said weekly or more, and then it tapered down to less than once per month. I suspect that's probably people who aren't on our e-post list. They're receiving it by other means, so less frequently. I added in the chart there to show in the first half of 2014 compared to 2013 how many e-posts we sent out, and we're ahead this month, or for this period. Just gonna grab, there's a piece of paper there that I want. The next thing we asked was how people would prefer to receive communication, and by overwhelming majority, people want it by email, which suits us just fine at the office because that's really the easiest way to communicate. We're sitting at our computers, this makes the most sense. Second was the village website, which was great that it was second, but we really like to have seen that be a higher number.
Is this interactive?
Sorry?
Is this interactive?
Is this interactive?
I've got a question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Sure. I think from what I saw, there was 147 responses,
Yes.
which is a higher number than our e-post number, I think.
Yes.
So a bit of a disconnect there.
No, I don't think so. You've got 2 or 3 people in a family, and they're each responding, but they get one e-post.
Okay, so I mean,
Actually, that's a valid point.
I mean, did we boost the number of people for e-post out of the survey?
We did, yeah. We added 17 people asked to be added.
Okay, so that's probably 10% at least.
Yes. Sorry. Then we asked how people initiate communication with us. We wanted to know how they communicate with us now. Most people call us. That's not a surprise. We weren't surprised to see that. And then second was they send us an email, which wasn't a surprise either. Or they come in person. The other ones that were kind of on the low end, sending a fax. I don't know if anybody even faxes anymore in this day and age. Some people write to us, and some people attend council meetings to get their information, but much less. How often do you communicate with the village? Well, most people don't call us unless they need us, and that seems to be less than once a year. I don't know if that's good or if that's bad. When we asked what type of communication is most useful, there wasn't a lot of variation between these, and that to me says that people think everything is important in varying degrees. But primarily people were interested in, and these results actually surprised me. The number one was wildlife updates. Out of everything, all the different selections there, people were most concerned about wildlife updates, followed by the events calendar and the bylaw updates. All of these answers, all of these responses were within about 16% of each other. So there wasn't really any widespread changes or differences. When we asked what kind of communications are least useful, I think what's important to note on this slide is that 64 people skipped this question. And I think people skipped this question because they felt everything was important and so they didn't want to answer it.
Okay.
I think it's reasonable to conclude that. And the other thing I'll talk about here is on both this slide, what's least important, and the previous slide, what's most important. There was a box where anybody could have typed other things that we had missed. Nobody submitted a single answer in those boxes. How often have you visited the village website in the last month? 1 to 3 times was the overwhelming majority. There were some people who hand wrote 0 visits on their in the comments section of their surveys. I think those are a lot of people who skipped this question. There's 38 people who skipped it, and I think it's reasonable to conclude that those are the people who likely would have answered 0, because it wasn't an option on the online version, which was an oversight on our part. We just assumed there weren't any zeros. And this was the last 6 months. Pretty straightforward results there. The respondents who answered 1 to 3 visits made up 32.5% of the second quarter's unique user increase. We had 218 unique visits in the second quarter of this year. So that's a boost up, which is great because more people are going to the website. Wow. On the flip side of that, we're seeing less people using the question link on the website. It automatically comes to me and the subject automatically says website query. I'm seeing a lot less of that. Wow. And I hope that that's because people are finding what they're looking for with the new layout. This I added in, it wasn't a part of the survey, but I thought it would be helpful for people to see, maybe interesting. These are just the comparison stats for unique web visits between 2012 and now. Yes?
Can you define what unique web visit means?
That is a unique IP address visiting the site.
So there's 3,000 different IP addresses that have looked at our website in the first quarter?
That's what the website say. Now, I don't know
I
if,
find that so hard to believe in that. Well, we have 1,100
We have such
residents.
a small residence.
right,
You know,
yeah.
so, I mean, people, sure, it's a World Wide Web and anybody all over the world can look, but really?
I think that's a part of it, Scott. I mean, people find something and they go by mistake.
Oh, okay.
But
I
I
mean,
think,
the community news has got the same issue when they get
I
10,000
wonder,
hits on
I wonder if
CSS.
a lot of it is maybe real estate oriented, because we have people who have bought in Lions Bay. I know of 2 residents, one maybe about 8 years ago or 10 years ago, and one within the last year, and they bought off the web.
could be,
They-
and
Yeah, it may be that people are looking all over, you know, where do you want to locate, but
And I don't know enough about IP addresses to comment on whether they change with computer updates or anything like that,
Wow.
but maybe that's a.
it's the only thing I can think of is
I thought I'd throw that in, because
real
that's what
estate.
our web provider shoots back to us on a
Wow.
periodic basis, so. In terms of next steps, we are gonna continue to use e-posts on the website as primary forms of communication. We're finding that those are working, that people like those methods. The website really is the fastest way for us to post information, and the e-post is the quickest way for us to let people know that there is new information.
Councillor Endo.
Personally, I'm not a fan of the new system where we get an e-post that says there's a new notice on line painting today, and then you have to click to the website to go and look at it. There was 2 lines saying that line painting will continue when the weather permitting, and that should be in the body of the e-post and make it as user-friendly and as easy and as accessible as possible for everybody to get the information. I understand if it's a huge file, I don't want to receive that by email, don't get me wrong. But if it's, you know, a short that can come, I think you need to make it as user-friendly as possible. That's my personal feedback.
And that's great feedback. We're trying to promote website use, and we
Yeah.
thought linking people to where all the public notices are would be a good way to communicate that. But you're the first feedback we've had, so that's great feedback.
If I could maybe echo that feedback too, that would, and maybe put the
Well, I've
link,
heard it
maybe
from
put the
3
link.
or 4 people
Yeah.
already that they're saying, you know, why did they change? It makes no sense to me. Now I'm driving around and I get this e-post, but you know, it may be important, so I got to look at it, and then I'm using my data plan, and you know, so they're scratching their head. It wasn't broke, so why'd you try and fix it? So you know, and I had no answers for them because I didn't know what the
I think that's a good
rationale
point.
was for changing it. I assumed it was to drive more traffic to your website, but to me, they were incongruent. Getting traffic to the website is one thing, but e-post, I believe, is a way to get information out to the residents, and you would like to get that as quickly and as concisely as possible, and so I believe it should be in the body. That's my...
And I think that's really valuable feedback, and I appreciate it. It's the first time I've heard it.
One
yeah.
of the things we need to talk about, and I think that was the first communications workshop, is the use of e-post
Yeah.
and how we communicate. E-posts really should only be used for emergency purposes, something that is absolutely, you know, urgent, time sensitive. Our website is really where we should encourage people to go. Now, when you start looking at what other jurisdictions do and how how you use your website, so I think council needs to figure out. You know, this may be different from the city of Vancouver. You know, so they use Flickr and they use you know, all types
They're tweeting,
of communication tools. We only have a very few. So if we're going to use, you know, so you have to decide on what's the best way. Is it e-post, website? And so I think what you should do is that, you know, as we move forward with this, is figure out what's the best use of our dollars and best use of our time. So if it is going to be e-posts, then why duplicate? That's the question.
Okay, Councillor Ando?
So, I can't remember how long ago it was, but we did discuss this a little bit at one time when we were talking about emails and how many email addresses that we had. And at that time, I believe that we discussed, you know, where the resident decides what level of priority of emails he wants. He either wants only the emergencies and he must know this information, or you can opt in for all the emails. And so I believe once you set it up the first time, you have two groups, and you just click which group you want to send it to, the group that gets everything or the group that just gets the emergency ones, and you just send it to those two different groups. And I think that we should do that. I think that that's the better way, and because we really want the emergency ones to be read by everybody. And so if some people are worried and not joining our email system because they're worried about too many emails from the village, then we have this emergency only, you need to boil water today because you need to boil water.
If I can pick up on that as well, I think that I'm going to pick up on the earlier discussion. This is a fantastic survey. I learned so much. Thank you. And with this idea of, so going back to the idea that Councillor Ando had brought up earlier, you know what a pain my system is right now. So I had the same experience, right? And but I hear you wanting to make that link. So I wonder if we could put the link at the bottom of the emails so that you can also, for further information about the village, link into, so sort of a tagline there. But then looking at emergency, it may be that we teach people that if it's an emergency e-post, we put, I don't know, a symbol in front of the e-post symbol or after the e-post symbol, so they know that it's a boil water or something like that. Or they can just zap it. But this has been very interesting because people are so e-friendly, and we know that. And surprise, they are in Lions Bay too. So it was a surprise for me, I have to say. It's been very useful. So if we can have that discussion as you suggest, then, but really continue our e-posting because people obviously are really
and just to
connecting with the village as a result of it. Yeah.
And just to close this out, some of the other options we're looking at are placing hard copies of the public web notices, a stack of them at the post office for those who aren't on email or don't know, but with a clear reference that came from the website to kind of encourage people to go there for those kinds of notices in the future. We're also researching phone and text message software options for urgent communications. This is not something that came back in the results as a big want for the community. They don't really want phone and text message emails. But when we look at rapid notify of emergency things, boil your water, or whatever other urgent things there might be in the village, time sensitive, and health and safety risks really, we really have to look at the best options for getting that information out quickly. And there's a number of software options where you can voice record a boil water notice, for example, and then hit fan out, and it will phone or text every person who's on your list and play out your recorded message. And so for those urgent situations that are really critical to get the message out, that's an option that we're going to research a little bit further.
If I could just put a footnote there, because we've got a very skilled volunteer, Jan Schneider, who would be pleased. And so he did an automatic phone out on the earthquake preparedness day. I got my call right at 10 o'clock. I'd even forgotten that I was going to get it, or whatever the exact time was. And I bent, ducked, and covered. It does work if his system works if the telephone lines are down. So it's a satellite feed or something. I mean, he's so knowledgeable. And I think it may be at no cost, but he's very knowledgeable. Yes, low cost. Yeah, so good. So
and we're going to look at the phase out of the village update. The reason for that is because while it was going to not every household in the village, but while hard copies were still being mailed out, it made sense. But we phased out that expense just because of the cost and labor involved in fanning that out. We made it available online, but what I found when I looked back over the 6 months across this year is all the information in the village updates we put out this year was almost all after the fact or information we posted on the website.
Yeah.
So it's almost redundant in duplicating work and time. And because of the number of people who suss out staff either by phone or in person at the village office, we're going to look at potentially being open increased hours, whether that looks like Wednesdays or whether that looks like a later night once a week. We're not sure yet. We don't know. We're still looking into what's going to work best in terms of staffing and lowest cost options.
Thank you very much. So, great.
Very good presentation.
Very good presentation. And if we could move receipt of this presentation, Councillor Ando and the seconder, Councillor Bain. Any further discussion? Just thank you very much. Very, very informative, and it helps us again be confident that our community is moving in an electronic direction and what its interests are broad and what its narrower interests are. So thank you. I call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can then move along to public questions and comments. Thank you. Mrs. Public Cover?
Yes. Mr. McGrath, you serve the entire community, correct? You do. Sir?
Is that a rhetorical question, or?
No, I'm asking you a question. Your position is to serve the entire community.
I'm employed by the district, by the village council.
Okay. You said earlier tonight that you don't want to censor anyone. You said that this evening. We sent these emails out to the entire council on the 16th. The entire conversation occurred before the deadline to go on the agenda. You were deliberately not included.
I understand.
Because we didn't want to compromise you.
Thank you.
Because you're in a delicate position with this issue.
Yeah, appreciate that.
And I believe we are being censored and not treated fairly. This issue is not resolved. We have still not gotten any information about easements or variances or where Lions Bay property lies. Not all trees, according to Scott Andu, were cut within the bounds of the survey.
I just want you to stop right this moment. Councillor Bain, could you please preside? I'm going to recuse myself.
This is mainly, Madam Mayor, this is not about the issue itself. This is a procedural issue.
Okay, as long as it's
I
procedural,
want to be
because
told
otherwise.
why this was not included in the package for the meeting. It should have been, it met the deadline.
I think we
copied
covered
reception and every single counselor with the exclusion of you because we didn't want to put you in a compromising position.
I understand.
So why were we not treated like everyone else?
Okay.
Please.
And I'll respond as temper. The very first thing is the correspondence was for me.
No, it was not.
And I'm not quite sure the skill Councillor Ando has to determine whether in fact all the trees were cut or not. We received, this was dealt with by council.
This is not about the trees.
I think we should give him a chance.
I think I need to go. Councillor, I'm just going to stop you for just a sec. Councillor Bain, could you preside, please? And I'm just going to scoot out of the room.
Here you go.
For a sec.
You're not finished.
I don't have a problem of dealing with things. What I do have a problem with
Sir,
is...
wait, why don't you wait till she gets out then, if she is asked to leave.
What I do have a problem with is answering the question.
I couldn't hear you.
What I do have a problem with is answering the same question a number of times. There was a discussion with Councillor Ando who made some comments that the trees weren't cut. Council dealt with this matter. Councillor Ando says that that's not true. We received so either Councillor Ando or somebody is calling Dr. Broughton a liar because he has made the commitment that in fact all the trees are surveyed. So unless somebody is calling him a liar, and I'm not quite sure who is.
Sir, this is not about
Okay,
the
so I'm going to
tree
get
issue.
involved because now you brought me into it. I sketched the...
Are you a surveyor?
No, I'm not a surveyor, but this is from the survey. I sat there and I sketched out what it is, and so I'll pass this out to the public, and one to each of the councilors.
This is a question for you.
What is it? try to stay on topic here.
And so the plan was showing locations of certain top trees. So it's not all the trees, it's only certain top trees. And it looks like it's only the certain top trees along the eastern border of the property. And so if it said all the trees, and if it said cut down trees or window trees or all the trees, yes, this survey is correct by the surveyor, but I don't see where other lands are and how you can determine that there was no trees. They only surveyed the trees that were on the private property. They didn't survey all the trees because it doesn't say that it's a survey of all the trees. So if you ask for something...
What did Dr. Broughton say?
That's not...
But what did he say?
I believe that he said that it was a survey of all the trees. I don't believe that.
Okay, so you're calling him a liar.
No. I'm saying... Okay, am I calling him a liar? I would say that these facts do not show that there are all the trees. I see what I see. I mean, I can go to Isleview Place and I can look at the trees. They don't match this. So if this is all the trees, if he claims that this is all the trees, then yes, I am calling him a liar. Okay? That's very clear.
Okay.
I'm on record as saying that. Yes, I am calling him a liar. If he says that this survey is all the trees that were cut, because I know that he can't go and plant trees for the ones that are already cut there, and that's not going to be replaced. So I believe that the village has a duty, because he promised and made his commitment to give us a survey of all the trees, and if you go down there and you see that these are the only trees that are cut, then you can come back to council and say, yes, those are all the trees that were cut. Only the ones that were on that survey that he provided, and then I won't say another word. But if you come back and you say that there was one tree more than what's on this survey, the survey that he provided, because this isn't a complete survey, but in the survey that he provided, then we're expecting you to do the due diligence of the village, protecting the interests of the village, and ensure that there's no village property, because it doesn't clearly show where any of the easements are, what is village property, whose property, everything else is. We want a survey. I believe that he made a commitment to provide a survey of all the trees, and that's what you should be asking for.
Well, I think we're a little bit off Mr. Publicover's comment, if I'm not mistaken. The issue is the communication, as I recall. I think we need to resolve this one as simply as possible. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is an issue more to do with the neighbors than it is to do with the village at this point.
No. I'm sorry, sir. We've been asking for information from the village and we've been ignored it. Every time we have come to council, we've had to struggle to get the correct story out. Whether it was something we presented back on April 15th, there was a huge exchange of emails to get the correct record, even when there was a written record of what we said. We were working privately on the side to have other things corrected with a private individual that were said incorrectly about what we've said. And we still are waiting to hear about variances and things because it affects us as residents. We have not had any report or any information about potential soil erosion. The road on our street has a longitudinal crack that runs parallel with this sheer drop-off where the trees were cut. I would imagine that would be a village concern, that the road doesn't crumble away, okay? But my immediate concern is having this on the agenda packet, because this is not a resolved matter, and this was to the entire council. I don't think we're being treated fairly. I really don't.
Yeah, to your point about having it on the agenda package, I think we can resolve that one relatively easy, can't we? Can it go in?
If council wishes it to be on the next agenda package, we can put the correspondence on the next agenda package.
Joanne, what's your opinion on this? Do you think that this is a complete survey of all the trees?
That's not.
I'd rather not, just a moment. Scott, just a second, hang on. If you ask a question, wait long enough to get an answer, please. Okay.
Just can we just stay on topic to what Mrs. Publicover's concern is?
Okay.
We're trying to figure a way of satisfying her need and wish of getting this onto the next council package.
Well, and sir, one other point of correction. We never asked to have this on the agenda. We never contacted anyone about this till the agenda pack came out, and we noticed it wasn't omitted, which was 5 days after the conversation occurred, and 1 day before the due date of materials to go into the packet.
Right.
So I want that clear. We never asked to have it put on.
Okay.
We presumed it would be because it met what we thought was the criteria.
Right.
Okay. And that is evident in this. You have a copy of all of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
We just want to be treated fairly.
Fair enough.
That's it. And that everyone's treated fairly. You know, that's it.
Okay. So can we make the opportunity to go into next month's or the next meeting's correspondence
Certainly
to
can.
satisfy that? Would you be happy with that? Or?
That would be wonderful.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I think the other issue, I don't think this is sort of the time and place to
No,
this or
We can discuss
I would just like to say, and you can confirm this or not, that after finding it out, I made a personal visit to your home and I rang the door and I barged in. I don't usually do that, you know, all the times I've been on council. But it did distress me very much. And they were very gracious and very, very nice and so forth. So I went personally to look at it as a governing agent of this community. And I think there perhaps there's confusion, and there are perhaps oversights that have, perhaps I'm saying, that they're not intentional, and they're not, I'm not excusing anything. I'm trying to say we can get it right, okay, if we haven't done it right yet. I think the intention of this council to a person, and certainly Mr. McGrado, who works diligently and desperately on our behalf, is part of this whole team. Give us a chance to what? Put it in the council agenda for the September 2nd meeting. Is that the next meeting? Yes, September 2nd. And whatever comes of that, if it would, just to make sure it's correct, would you kindly send?
We've got all the material.
Is it all right?
You haven't probably seen all the material because we've been trying to take the high road on this.
Yes, I know that.
And to go through the proper channels. And we haven't wanted to make a big fuss. And we aren't concerned about trees cut on private property. We're worried about the bank falling away, and we want to know the easements and where village property lies. We want to be good neighbors.
So who would be responsible for the survey of that property as far as if it's village property? I don't know if I'm going the wrong route.
Councillor Ronson, I think we're tabled to the second.
Pardon me?
We're tabled to the second on this one. Let's give staff.
Okay, let's
I think
do
we've
that.
answered Mrs.
Let's do that,
Publicover's
okay?
question.
So give us till the 2nd of September, okay?
Okay, good. We can bring Mayor Broughton back in, I think. Do we have any other public? I shall pass it back.
Back with the other.
Okay.
And that's it for public
We're,
participation.
thank you. I just want to apologize for not keeping it to comments, participation. It's not a period of debate.
Anybody else?
So I was far and away, but I just want to say I had that moment to reflect that in deciding, I think, procedure, that I need to ensure that the comments and participation are that. So anyways, and that's not to take away from whatever occurred here, but just to say my apologies, because just the purpose of the public participation is that comment period, but it's not an interactive period. So anyway, so with that, not to create any hopefully negative feelings, but just to say thank you to all for coming this evening, and could I have council please move adjourned?
I'm so moved.
Thank you, Councillor Rossi and Councillor Green. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.